Calgary, where football success has been hard to come by over the last few seasons. Not so in 1990. There have been all kinds of reasons to celebrate. The Stampeders are one of the best teams in the CFL and are currently in first place in the West. They have rolled over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, beating the defending Grey Cup champions 3 times this season. With a healthy Danny Barrett, Calgary easily beat Toronto Argos. And the Stampeders split their season series with the top team in the East, Mike Riley's Winnipeg Blue Bombers. In fact, Calgary has beaten every team in the league. Every team except one, the Edmonton Eskimos. Eskimos have owned the Stampeders this season and have made the Stampeders look like a last-place football team. Surprising that Craig Ellis has a smile on his face. All 3 Eskimo wins this season have been by big scores. And through 3 games, Edmonton has outscored Calgary 118-49. But this is nothing new. The Eskimos have beaten the Stamps the last 10 times, and they've won 18 of the last 19 games. In fact, you have to go back to September of 1987 to find the last time Calgary beat Edmonton. Back then, Rick Johnson was the quarterback, and Larry Willis was a key Stampeder receiver. Today, will the Stampeders recapture the magic of '87? Can the Calgary offensive line protect quarterback Danny Barrett? Or will it be Tracy Ham who steals the show? We'll find out. Coming up, it's the Stampeders and the Eskimos with first place in the West on the line. Molson CFL Game of the Week on TSN. Brought to you by Molson Canadian, what beer's all about. And by Priority Courier, the official courier of the CFL. It was supposed to be a warm day here, plus 10 degrees Celsius for the Edmonton Eskimos and the Calgary Stampeders, but the Chinook is a little late arriving. The temperature is 2 degrees. The snowfall that came on Thursday has pretty much dissipated, and the field is dry, and we're ready for a great football game as we welcome you to McMahon Stadium in Calgary. I'm Peter Watts. These 2 teams battling for first place in the West. First time that's happened ever in the history of football between the 2 cities. The Saskatchewan loss last night in Vancouver means the Eskimos will finish in at least second place and play host to the Western semifinal next week. Of course, they would like to finish first and get a bye into the Western final on the 18th. But the Calgary Stampeders have had other ideas. Both teams have had great weeks of practice. Both teams know the importance of getting away to a good start. And on that note, let's go to the broadcast booth. Here's John Wells and Leif Fetters.
All right, Peter, a win today is Calgary's ticket to the Grey Cup. They'll have to beat the Edmonton Eskimos once this season to get there, and I think, Leif, they really have to do it today.
You know what, I really agree with you, John. You know, they'd love to win today and then host the final in a couple of weeks. I think if they have to go up to Edmonton to get to the Grey Cup, it's going to be a tough road for them.
Now, the Stampeders have come on strong lately. The Eskimos can't say the same. The Stampeders have won 4 of their last 5 games, and they have been impressive in their last 3 outings in particular.
They really have, you know, and I think the key this afternoon for them is how will Danny Barrett play against that Edmonton defense? And I quite frankly think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league to go against them for a couple of reasons. He doesn't beat himself. He only throws an interception every 24 times he throws the football, and he's a great runner. And I think it's going to be that running ability this afternoon that will lead this Calgary offense.
Now, the Eskimos do have a few problems, not the least of which is finding someone to replace the great Stuart Hill, and that may not be easy.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, how do you replace 17 sacks all of a sudden? Well, they're going to try with a couple of newcomers. Leroy Blue in his second year, but really first year starting, and of course, Benny Goods. And I think if a lot of pressure will be on them this afternoon, Calgary will try and run wide, and, you know, that'll see if these 2 guys can play.
Well, it is a battle for top spot in the Western Division. It is the first time in a long, long time that the Eskimos and the Calgary Stampeders have faced off in a situation like this. It is all coming up live on the Sports Network from McMahon Stadium this afternoon.
The Saskatchewan defense has 11 interceptions and 14 sacks in the first 3 games of this series. Game 4 for first place in the West, coming up next from Calgary.
All right, Cody, are you ready? Who's back? All right. Hi there, hi there. I can't hear anything here. Hi. Got any ambient sound? On the final day of the regular season, the Stampeders and the Eskimos, a high-stakes shootout. A showdown for top spot in the West at McMahon Stadium this afternoon. The Eskimos will kick it off, and we're underway in Calgary. The kickoff rolling out and bouncing out inside the 20-yard line. So we'll take it back and do it all over again. Ken Lazarick is in charge of proceedings. He has worked 4 Grey Cups, 14 years experience in Canadian football, and a Winnipeg native.
5-yard penalty, and the Eskimos will kick over again.
Calgary Stampeders a point ahead of the Edmonton Eskimos in the Western Division standings, and a chance to finish ahead with a win or a tie here this afternoon and host the Western Final for the first time in a long time.
A real long time. What was it, 1971?
Back when Jerry Keeling was a Calgary quarterback.
Yeah, that year was a Grey Cup year. They beat the Toronto Argonauts.
Leon McQuay dropped the football
Oh,
that
who could
afternoon.
forget that one?
Now the return is on. Jerry for the Stampeders, and he gets Calgary into great field position. Keith Wright made the stop. 34-yard return, and look where the Stampeders begin inside the Eskimo 50.
As they have done so many times this year with those great special teams.
Up front for the Calgary Stampeders, Powell and Fairbanks, a couple of veterans at tackles. Veterans inside at guard as well with Blanchard and Palumbo. Outside receivers have done a good job with Crawford and Pitts. Sapunjis and Beals are inside the starting quarterback, the likable Dan Barrett. His runners, Andy McVeigh and Tony Cherry. First down, Calgary. At the Eskimo 49. Barrett puts it up. For Crawford, he makes the catch. And he is inbounds. A 35-yard reception from Barrett to Crawford. Great start for the Stampeders, who have had difficulty against the Eskimos this season. Going 0 for 3, but starting off poorly every time.
Yeah, much has been made about that quick start, and the players, you know, think about it all week. And to be able to come out and have a great offensive play on your first one, I mean, that's got to be a lift for everybody. Great protection for Danny Barrett to set up. Nobody gets even close to it. That is a perfect throw to a guy who has really played well in the second half of this season, Derek Crawford.
From the 15, Barrett pitches for Cherry, and there is room to the outside as Cherry crashes into the 5-yard line. Shelton over to make the stop. 9-yard pickup for Tony Cherry. The Stampeders off to a hot start in Calgary today.
Well, the opening, we talked about the 2 defensive ends, Benny Goods and Leroy Blue, and we anticipated that Calgary would try and run to the outside with Tony Cherry. There you see the option. The option, Leroy Blue, he gets cut. A 9-yard pickup by Tony Cherry, who has really found a home here in Calgary in the second half of the season. You know, he started in Ottawa, much heralded free agent signing, couldn't make it there. Reggie Barnes eventually beat him out. Now he's come to Calgary and been a big part of their offense in the second half of the season.
Stampeders have a chance to get a first down without scoring a touchdown. 2nd and inches. Barrett himself. No flags are down, and he easily has the first down, grabbing 2 yards in the Eskimo defense.
Well, you look at that Eskimo defense with the 2 big tackles, Mike Walker and Brett Williams, and that time the offensive line of the Stampeders did a great job to push them back. The rest of the Eskimo defense, solid linebacking core. Danny Bass, Jeff Braswell, Larry Ruck, 2 great corners, Keith Gooch and Andre Francis, although Francis lost the opening battle to Derek Crawford on that long pass.
Stampeders are set now for a 1st and goal to go from the Eskimo 3. carry himself. Barrett actually got back to the line of scrimmage, stopped by David Shelton, and a flag goes down. Jeff Braswell was around the scene of the crime.
You knew that would happen, didn't you? Yeah, he's always around the action. Number 44, there he is. It'll be interesting to see how they sort that out. Great defense by the Edmonton Eskimos there. Danny Barrett, a tough guy to stop out in the open field, but David Shelton coming all the way from the middle safety did a great job. Well, there's our pal.
Actually, 2 penalty flags were down on the play. Roughing both ways, so that will cancel.
Objection to conduct, 59 Calgary. Major foul, unnecessary roughness, 44 Edmonton. First down, Calgary.
Now that's Leo Blanchard for the Eskimos, and he was chirping in the newspapers the last couple of days. He had some comments about Jeff Braswell and about some other members of the Edmonton Eskimos.
He simply said, when I played in Edmonton, we had players that had class. He said, Braswell's got no class. And he said, yeah, go ahead, print it in the paper. Braswell can't read.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Harsh statement, so they get in early here.
Well, we're going to watch this one. I mean, these guys, I don't think they're on each other's Christmas card list, that's safe to say. Leo Blanchard, of course, spent so many years with the Edmonton Eskimos, and there's the quote.
A direct quote from Leo Blanchard, who is a former Edmonton Eskimo. It is a first down and goal-to-go situation for Calgary from the 2, and Andy McVeigh has the touchdown. No flags are down. Stampeders score quickly at McMahon this afternoon. The McVeigh touchdown set up on a great run by Tony Cherry, and prior to that, nice toss from Dan Barrett to Derek Crocker.
Great surge on the right side of the offensive line. The center, Tony Spallettini, Mike Palumbo, and Lloyd Fairbanks, and that was a pretty easy trip into the end zone 2 yards away for Andy McVeigh. His 3rd touchdown of the year, and John, you and I talked about how important it was to get the crowd involved in this game for the Stampeders, and with that opening drive, the crowd is really into this one.
Well, our game of the week is off to a for the first time in 19 years. And a 7-0 first quarter lead. The other thing is, it's another interesting match in this one in the newspapers, right?
Here's the standings coming into this final day of the 1990 season. Calgary with a point lead over Edmonton. That battle for first in the West is what we're watching today at McMahon. Saskatchewan, with the loss last night to BC, will finish in 3rd spot. The Lions finish strongly with a couple of victories, 6-11-1 on the season. Bobo Vilovich will have them rolling come next year.
Interesting scoring drive. 49 yards, 5 plays, 2:24. The time of possession, and Andy McVeigh has the first scoring play of the afternoon.
The first time all season in the 3 meetings between these teams, well, now the 4th meeting, that the Calgary Stampeders have led at any point in the game. And from a psychological standpoint, I mean, I think that's a huge lift for them.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Stampeders have to find a way to beat the Edmonton Eskimos. Wally Buono said this week he wanted to take some pressure off his team and tell the Stamps to go out and have some fun this afternoon. No more fun than a scoring drive in the first possession early in the afternoon. This is Shelton. David Shelton on the return for the Eskimos. Well covered by Calgary special teams.
Yeah, I love Wally. Go out and have some fun, guys. Let me tell you, if you lose, it's no fun. If you win this one and you get 2 weeks off and you get the other 2 teams to beat up on each other in the semifinal, now that's fun. But we'll wait and see how much fun this game's going to be.
Eskimo offensive line with Blake Dermott and Trevor Bowles at tackle. Verschoval and McConnell are inside. The outside receivers, Willis and Wright, they need more production out there. Inside, they can't get much more from Ellis, and they can't get much more from a quarterback than they have had from Tracy Ham this season. 1st and 10 for the Eskimos. from the 34. Good fake by Ham, who looks long himself for Larry Willis. And there have been some interesting comments from the Stampeders on a former Stampeder, Larry Willis, this week as well.
Tell us about them, John.
Well, again, it is Leo Blanchard talking about Larry Willis, a former teammate. And Leo Blanchard said of Larry Willis, he is the biggest coward out there.
That's not very nice.
Marco Sincar makes the catch. And that is enough for an Eskimo first down.
Now, you don't think these two teams like each other. I mean, these are the quotes flying around before the game. And not only did Leo Blanchard say Larry Willis was a coward,
There's more.
Now, wait a minute. That's not nice. Leo.
Flags are down as Ham scrambles to his right. Stopped by Ronnie Hopkins out there.
Gain of 7 yards on the play. Tackled by Finley Hopkins right on the play.
Now we'll go back to the line of scrimmage and see what went wrong. Looks like a little early movement from the Stampeders. The initial indication from today's referee, Ken Lazarick.
Offside, Calgary number 79, first down, repeat it.
79 is Walter Ballard, as you likely know. Ballard has been in the news this week as well.
Say it ain't so, Leo. Say it ain't so.
Michael Souls, and Souls on 1st and 5 should have a first down.
I guess when you've been around for 12 years like Leo Blanchard has, you can say what you feel like saying every once in a while.
Here's the way the Stampeders stack up defensively. With Ballard and Johnson on the ends, Warnock and Price very solid in the middle. Very solid linebacking lately as well, with Clausey leading the way, along with Matt Finley there. Good corners, and Hopkins and Junior Thurman, McCurry and Hall are the halfbacks. First down, Edmonton. And Ham just misses to Craig Ellis. What a year Craig Ellis has had.
He has had an unbelievable year. Coming into this game, 102 receptions, 1,589 yards, 17 touchdown receptions. Of course, just to fill you in on a couple of things, he is 1 touchdown away from Brian Kelly's team record. Couple of receptions away from Brian Kelly's team record of 104, so we will follow them today, and that is the matchup we're going to show you this afternoon. Craig Ellis against Darryl Hall. Darryl Hall won that one. Great coverage.
2nd and 10 for the Eskimos from the Calgary 52. There is room for Tracy Ham, and he is stopped short of the first down. Joe Clausey was there. 7-yard gain.
Well, this will be a big test for the Stampeder defense this afternoon. I mean, you've heard all about Tracy Ham. He's over 1,000 yards rushing against, set another record, broke his own record, in fact, for quarterbacks rushing the football. But they want to make sure, I mean, Ham's going to get his yardage this afternoon. Just make sure it's not the kind of yardage that kills you in crucial times. And here, on a 2nd and 10, okay, let him run. But make sure you stop him before he picks up the 10. He's a couple of yards short, and that's great defense.
Interesting comments from Walter Ballard this week as he was suggesting he might try and get Tracy Ham out of this football afternoon. Eskimo head coach Joe Faraghelli talked about a lawsuit if, in fact, Ballard applied unusual pressures to his quarterback. Long kick, and it goes for a single point.
That's smart play by Crawford. Give up the single. It's early in the game, and get that good field position out to the 35-yard line. 54-yard single for Ray McAreedy. 7-1. Calgary in the lead of the Eskimos. 9:59 to go in the opening quarter at McMahon.
Oh, bullshit. It's all, come on. Call us down.
They're fast, easy, and free.
Stampeders begin with a first down at the Calgary 35. Dan Barrett on target for his best ever year in Canadian football. Is Tony Cherry with a first down. Stopped by David Sheldon. And he's out across the 45 to the 46, an 11-yard gain.
Well, this is the 6th game that Tony Cherry has started for the Calgary Stampeders. In the other 5, he's averaged 70 yards on the ground during each of those games. And so far in the first quarter, he's cracked off a couple of pretty good runs. 2 carries, 21 yards, not bad.
first down. Barrett far side. As Alan Pitts, but Pitts is well short of a first down. Keith Gooch over to make the tackle. 5-yard gain.
It's a pretty tough pass to complete against these two Edmonton corners. Alan Pitts having a great year, and boy, that's an interesting statistic right there. First guy since Terry Evinchin, first rookie rather, but Keith Gooch and Andre Francis, they play awfully tight, and to throw those quick hitch passes, boy, you have to get that ball in the air before the receiver stops on his break.
From the Calgary 51, 2nd and 5. Barrett for Crawford. Oh! Sapunjas almost had a chance to bring it down, but two Eskimos had a shot at a loose football too. Crawford, a possible catch.
I think he should have had that one. Danny Barrett put it in a great spot. He had to get it over the linebacker. You'll see right here the play action to try and freeze the outside linebacker Jeff Braswell, but he has to throw over top of him. Crawford should have had it. Absolutely.
A third down kicking situation for Brent Matic. Not deep. Bouncing to the gizmo. Henry Williams. He begins at the 12. And the gizmo is surrounded. A 47-yard kick. No return for Henry Gizmo Williams. So the Stampeders force the Eskimos deep. It is 7-1 Calgary midway through the first quarter at McMahon.
All fans having Deer Football and Talking Yellow Pages pom-poms are eligible to play our Deer Football $100,000 goal contest at halftime. If your pom-pom number matches one of the numbers presently being shown in the entry board, make your way immediately to the Something information to understand today. Your bookman, $100,000. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the
Oh, did he?
I figure 33 and 6.
3 equals 6. What? Yeah, but I mean, what would that?
Well, it must 33 equals 6 touchdown. His number 33 equals touchdown.
Ah.
I'm guessing. I don't know. Well, Craig Ellis has had an unbelievable season in 1990, and he is our featured matchup this afternoon against Darryl Hall.
Well, Darryl Hall plays defense unusual than the other DBs that I face. Well, what Darryl Hall does is he sit about 7 to 8 yards, and he don't backpedal. He stands flat-footed, squared up, and he just tries to get a hand on you and tries to jam you. So my strength against him, I'm going to try to get him out of that flat-footed stance, get him moving one side or the other so I can release to the opposite side that he jumps. So he's so much different than the other DBs I face, and my best thing, I can't allow him to put a hand on me.
We'll see how that matchup progresses this afternoon. Michael Souls.
The ball carrier, gain of 9 yards.
Souls has 9.
He had a great week against the Ticats last week, over 100 yards in rushing. And you want to talk about a young guy that comes into our league with some credentials. How about his career at McGill University? 3 years he started. He rushed for over 100 yards, 19 out of 25 games. Michael Souls handled the football 559 times and never fumbled. I mean, that's some great credentials, isn't it?
He hasn't fumbled as a pro either.
No, that's great. He's a good one.
Souls again. And we'll see if the Eskimos come up with a first down. Check that. Blake Marshall is there. Edmonton first down.
Boy, it's 2nd and short. He's a tough guy to bring down. 6'1", 230 pounds. Not too many guys around the league will stop him dead in his tracks. Leads the league, 11 rushing touchdowns. Blake Marshall, he'll be happy. Western won yesterday. He's an alumni from Western.
1st and 10 for the Eskimos at the 24. This is Michael Souls once more. And he is out to the 29. Gain of 4.
Well, you look at this Edmonton offense and what they have lost this season. They lost Tom Richards. and Reggie Taylor. And you put those two guys together, that's last year 3,100 yards of offense and 13 TDs. Now, to try and replace those guys, I mean, you can't do it. But Michael Souls is doing a good job. I mean, he is not the breakaway runner that a Reggie Taylor is, but he has done a solid job since he's been in there.
Tight coverage on Keith Wright by Ron Hopkins.
Ronnie Hopkins was questionable with a hamstring injury, but he is in the lineup today and a spiritual leader with this club. No question about that. Has set a CFL record for kickoff returns this year with over 1,200 yards. And game in, game out, there's nobody better than Ronnie Hopkins.
Ray McAreedy is in on 3rd down and 6 for the Eskimos. Derek Crawford and Pee Wee Smith deep for the Stampeders. 7-1 Calgary lead. This is Pee Wee Smith at his own 40. Flag is down as Smith steps out just across midfield, forced out by David Shelton. 43-yard kick that time for McAreedy. Well, history definitely on the Eskimos side lately. They have won 3 straight from the Stampeders this season and 10 in a row going back a year or 2.
Holding, Calgary number 2. First down, Calgary.
But then if you're a Calgary Stampeder fan, you have to say, oh, now, Mr. Wells, how about the law of averages?
Absolutely.
Sure.
And what could come into play here today. Stampeders off to a good start, too. They are inspirational football.
That's what we talked about. 6 minutes remaining in the first quarter. They have a 7-0 lead, and so far they've held the Edmonton offense to pretty well nothing.
Dan Barrett on 1st down. Nice catch by Smith. Close to 10. D is for Pee Wee.
I think the Calgary Stampeders have put an excellent receiving core together. They got Pee Wee Smith in there. Sean Beals has done a fine job. And Alan Pitts, well, he's done everything you could have asked for a rookie. How about Derek Crawford? So they have put some guys in that receiving core that not only have some great speed, but they're hanging onto the football. And you put that all together with an offensive line that gives the quarterback time to throw, well, they could do some damage.
This is 2nd and short for the Calgary Stampeders. They want to get across with 55 for a 1st down. Barrett himself. That'll be another Calgary Stampeder 1st down. 6th 1st down of the afternoon.
There's so many times you look at a game and you say, yeah, I think the battle of the big boys up front is going to tell a story in this game. And I think for most part that is true in this game, because last time these two teams met, the Edmonton Eskimos ran all over that offensive line of the Calgary Stampeders and sacked Danny Barrett, Terrence Jones. This afternoon so far, Danny Barrett really hasn't had a hand on him every time he stepped back to throw.
1st down, Calgary. At the 54. This is Tony Cherry. Cherry has some tough running inside, but grabs 3 yards.
Gain of 3 yards on the play. Tackled by Mike Walker, 2nd down, Stampeders.
Lloyd Fairbanks, number 66. 16 seasons in the Canadian Football League. He is 37 years of age. Perhaps the last chance to make it to the Grey Cup. Fairbanks says we've got a shot.
Well, only a couple of guys have played longer. Ron Lancaster and Dave Cutler. He's 3rd all-time games played.
Crawford makes the catch. Another Calgary 1st down. And Barrett continues the march. Crawford got that in front of Andre Francis. 13 yards for Derek Crawford.
Well, it's not like they're going against one of the easy corners in the league, too. I've always been of the opinion that Andre Francis, one of the best one-on-one cover guys in the league, and so far Derek Crawford now has caught a couple of passes on him, the one long bomb and bump and run, and now a good out pattern. Make no mistake, though, number 14, Andre Francis, is one of the best.
Here's Tony Cherry away from a couple, and he loses yardage. Play did not develop quickly for Calgary.
Now, Benny Goods, number 40, who's taken over in that lineup from the injured Stuart Hill, made the first hit and really stopped Cherry initially. He didn't get the final tackle, but here you're going to see it. Benny Goods really kind of the only guy left around at the time Stuart Hill got hurt. He's really a linebacker, but they've asked him to play defensive end, and this is just his 2nd start.
This is 2nd and 13 for the Stampeders now from the 41. Barrett looks long, has a man. This is Alan Pitts. Pitts has the first down, dragged down. As a flag comes down as well. First down Calgary. Pitts gets inside the 20. Nifty little gain of 22.
I think they're going to call Marshall Toner for a clip on David Shelton. You're going to see it at the end of this play, but what a great play by Alan Pitts to come back across the middle. His quarterback in trouble. Now watch here. Here's Marshall Toner. There's the clip. Good call. Didn't get the head in front. First time, really, Danny Barrett's had some pressure. He got rid of the ball, but took a great hit from Leroy Blue and Benny Goods.
Watching from the rear, Calgary number 76. First down, Calgary.
So the infraction came after the Stampeders had picked up the necessary yards for a first down.
Keep an eye out for the flags, guys.
That's the good news.
That's the good news for Calgary.
Bad news, it moves back a bunch.
First and 10, Stampeders now at the Eskimo 34. Calgary leads 7-1 with 2:45 to play in the opening quarter of McMahon. For Pitts, Barrett was off target.
Great coverage by Keith Gooch. Alan Pitts trying to run what they call a post quarter. 3 steps into the middle and then break it back to the outside, but Keith Gooch was sitting right on his outside hip, would not allow him to get out there, and Danny Barrett threw it away, and that's probably the best quality that he has as a quarterback. He just does not beat himself, and his interception ratio dictates that. Only 11 on the season, 17 touchdowns. He's a guy that just knows how to win. Simple as that.
Dan Barrett, 6-3-1 as a Calgary starter. Second and 10 for Barrett of the Stampeders now looking for the home run. Touchdown. Alan Pitts on Keith Gooch. Nifty little 34-yard touchdown strike from Dan Barrett.
Talked about the crowd here at McMahon and could they get into this game? Well, they've been able to. They're ahead 13-0 at this point. Alan Pitts gives Keith Gooch a little stutter step, the pump fake, and then he is in behind him. Gooch nowhere near. Alan Pitts has another big reception, his 6th touchdown of the season. The Stampeders have really come up with a great first quarter.
Now 14-1. Alan Pitts has the second Stampeder touchdown. The Stallion. They're ready to party in Calgary. This is for first in the West. There's much more ahead.
All right, I want to say hi to Mom and Dad. Really miss the one and the new Lou. Doing it for you guys. What's it, Danny? Stop. Hello, Andy. All day, buddy.
The outstanding rookie season for Alan Pitts.
I would say so. First rookie to get 1,000 yards receiving for a Stampeder since Terry Evanson. Danny Barrett hangs in nicely with pressure in his face from Leroy Blue and throws a beautiful strike to Alan Pitts, and what a target he has been. 6'4", 200 pounds, got a great stride, and Danny Barrett, pretty happy quarterback to throw that touchdown pass, and he has had an excellent first quarter.
3 for 61 for Dan Barrett. 1 touchdown, and a long toss to Derek Crawford set up the first Calgary Stampeder touchdown. 6 of 8 for 119 yards.
It's not really a true hammer, you know what I'm saying? It's a zip.
Ready for the Calgary kickoff with the Stampeders leading 14-1. They kick it away from Henry Gizmo Williams. And the Eskimos on a tough break as Shelton touched the ball, and then it trickled out of bounds near the 1-yard line.
David Shelton really has trouble with this. Hits him right in the head, and what a break for the Stampeders. It's been their quarter. Could have gone in the end zone and maybe given up the points, but it goes out of bounds, which is actually better. 109 yards away from touchdown. Not a good spot to start.
We'll see what Tracy Ham can do with the Eskimo offense here. Some early movement. There are flags down everywhere. Referee today, Ken Lazarek. Michael Souls getting really jumped down there late.
Sorry, John, didn't see it. You know, while the referees sort this one out, one statistic that I think is really important to look at, the Edmonton Eskimos in their last 5 games have scored a total of 11 points in the first quarter, and so far here, only 1 point against this Calgary defense, but that is amazing, isn't it? 11 points in the first quarter in the last 5 games.
Offside. Calgary number 81, still first out.
It is 1st and 5, however.
Now you see Will Johnson the top of the screen, and boy, when you've got a team backed up, you really don't want to let them off the hook with some penalties, and offsides are kind of dumb penalties.
Going for the first down, Blake Marshall, number 22.
Well, you talked about how the Eskimos have had trouble scoring points in the first quarter. That's been a nemesis of the Calgary Stampeders all season long, until the last couple of games. Danny Barrett's return has really helped him in the first quarter. 65 yards in 7 plays and a gorgeous pass to Alan Pitts for a 14-1 Stampeder lead with a minute and a half to go in quarter 1.
Joe Ferragili has had his most trying season as an Eskimo head coach. Second down, less than a yard to go for Edmonton now. Another flag.
And the ball carrier.
Tracy Ham carries it. Looked like a little early movement from the Stampeders once more. We'll wait for Mr. Lazarek's official announcement.
Offside. Calgary number 79, first down Edmonton.
Walter Ballard that time.
Well, there you see it at the top of your screen, no question about that. Trying to get a little edge. They knew Tracy Ham was going to pick up the first down anyway. Try and cheat just a little bit, get a jump on the football. Dr. Ballard started all 17 games this year for the Stamps at that defensive end spot.
First and 10 for Ham from the 15. Gets some pressure now. Got it away. And Willis had it and dropped it. He should have made the catch.
Well, he had some great years here for the Calgary Stampeders, but once he comes back as the opposition, the fans have been on him from the moment he was introduced this afternoon, and this is a ball that Larry Willis should have caught. Great job by Tracy Ham to avoid the pressure and deliver a strike. Larry Willis couldn't hang on.
Stampeders lead it 14-1 into the final minute of the opening quarter. Second and 10 Edmonton. Time to throw now. Decides he'll carry himself. Tracy Ham has the first down and plenty to spare. Stepping out just on his side of the 50-yard line. Forced out by Junior Thurman. Tracy Ham ever dangerous when he carries himself.
31-yard pickup for Tracy Ham, who set another record for running quarterbacks this year in the CFL. And watch the move on Matt Finley right there. You know, if you're a linebacker, and you know, I'm not faulting Matt Finley. Ham's a tough guy to bring down, but you have to keep him to the inside. Don't let him get to the outside and run. And 31 yards later, he has the first down. Remember, this drive started on their own 1-yard line, and now they're out to the 47.
First down for the Eskimos. Blake Marshall surrounded and smashed to the turf. Mitchell Price led the way that time. Number 74. Ken Warnock wasn't far away.
Mitchell Price is a tough guy. He'll play right on the nose of the center so many times, and that's Rod Connup, who is an all-star in his own right. But Mitchell Price at 6'3" and 270 pounds, if he can get position, he can really mess up those trap plays in a hurry.
Should be time for one play officially. 3 seconds remaining in the first quarter. discussions. Referee Ken Lazarick.
This isn't the Boston Garden, is it?
The Boston Garden. Oh, that's been fun, hasn't it?
For those of you who don't know what I'm saying, I mean, they've been accused of running the clock down late in games and all kinds of other stuff down there. Calgary Stampeder clock ran down to 0, but really, in fact, there was 3 seconds left.
Chicago coach Mike Keenan was upset about that last week. Here's Ham escaping again on 2nd and 12. He won't come up with a first down this time. There is a flag as Ham is forced out. Could be roughing against Calgary. So there'll be one more play in the opening quarter. Ham is hurt.
Yeah, you get a great look at the end of it. There's David McCrary, number 3, and then Joe Clausey, number 60. Hits him while he's out of bounds, no question about it. Now, I don't think there was an attempt to injure, but you're going to get called. When the quarterback's going out of bounds, you saw it last night in the Argo game. Bruce Holmes hit Ricky Foggy. He was ejected. This is not called for ejection by any stretch, but if you hit the quarterback near the sidelines, the referees are watching it, and they're going to call it.
Will be the quarter for the Calgary Stampeders. Out in front of the Eskimos, 14-1. Happy faces in Calgary so far. Throw a flag. There was a flag. Okay, we got to get Lazarick's.
Well, they're going to mark something right now. So they're marching 15. The play should, the quarter shouldn't end it. They cost him a play. I don't understand that. But no.
I didn't see a flag. So.
Major foul. Unnecessary roughness, number 60 Calgary. First down Edmonton.
Remember, this drive started on the 1-yard line, eh?
Yeah. Mention that shouldn't end on a foul.
Well, yeah, I don't know why. Obviously, there's a reason, but I don't know what it is.
Section E, row 3, seat 11.
Yeah.
And row 63, seat 9.
Second
Ash, row 23, seat 7.
Yeah.
Section E, row 28, seat 19.
Welcome back to McMahon in Calgary, where the Stampeders lead at 14-1 and the Edmonton Eskimos first place on the line today. The emotions running a little bit high. Joe Clausey has just taken an unnecessary roughness penalty for hitting Tracy Ham out of bounds and 15 yards to the Eskimo march, which began back at the 1-yard line. Edmonton has a first down at the Calgary 43. Blake Marshall has running room. Marshall inside the 30, inside the 25. Greg Peterson finally slowed him down. 20 yards for Blake Marshall. Another big Eskimo first down.
That's a great run by the big fullback, 6'1", 230 pounds, and nice feet. Good footwork to make that cut and get to the outside. Now, let's remember one thing. Calgary Stampeders come into this game. They have first place. I mean, they should be the favorites, but you know what? I don't think they are. They come in as the underdog, and when you are, you can't allow the other team first downs on penalties. 2 penalties now have given first downs to the Edmonton Eskimos on this drive, which started on their own 1-yard line. And boy, Tracy Ham has put a super drive together. Joe Clausey, the injured player, he gave them the first down on his roughing penalty. Edmonton would have had to give up the football there, but the penalty kept the drive going. They do not want to lose Joe Clausey. He's had a great year. You all know the story about him. Came in as a defensive end. They moved him to middle linebacker. He's been great. There you see, he leads the club in tackles and ranks him 6th in the CFL. I'd say that's a pretty Impressive rookie season. 5 interceptions. Only 2 other linebackers, Eddie Lowe and Chris Gaines, had more. That's some kind of year for a rookie.
Tracy Ham has only completed 1 of 5 for 13 yards so far. Looks to the end zone here. Batted away. Larry Willis, the intended receiver. Tight coverage from Junior Thurman.
Junior Thurman really has come into his own in 1990. Last year he played middle safety, halfback, and corner. This year he started all games on the corner, and he has really been able to get comfortable out there and makes a super play to knock it away. You know, in games this year, he has shut down David Williams, Jeff Boyd, and Mark Guy, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're talking 3 guys that have not caught a ball against him, and that's the reason why that coverage you just saw in Larry Willis.
2nd and 10 for the Eskimos at the 23. And looks to air it out again. Over the middle, no one there. Ellis was the closest Eskimo receiver, but the ball was not anywhere in his vicinity.
Good pressure from the front 4. Walter Ballard, Will Johnson, Ken Warnock, and Mitchell Price. Here they all come. Wicklam on the blitz. There comes Price. He's getting close. And then the big hit at the end from Henry Smith, the blitzing linebacker, number 92, the newcomer. But the good pressure up front forced that throw to go awry.
Tracy Ham, 1 of 7 for 13 yards so far. Ray McAreedy set to try his first field goal just inside the 30. And McAreedy is on target. 10-point game now. The Stampeders hanging on to the lead at 14-4.
Well, that's a great drive to start at your own 1-yard line and work it all the way downfield and get some points. You've done a great job on offense. And the Stampeders see their lead shrink to 10 points here in the 2nd quarter, but they've done what they wanted. They've come out and established the lead early, which they hadn't been able to do all season long against this Edmonton team in their previous meetings. And of course, they lead 14-4.
Stampeders didn't only fall behind in earlier meetings.
It was ugly.
They gave the ball away a lot, did they not? They were behind in a hurry.
No, it's like all their games so far this year are over in the 1st quarter, and I mean, that's not a whole lot of fun. Going to give Joe a new tape job. Get him ready. There's Tracy Ham.
Yeah. All right. Right. Okay.
Listening in for a few secrets there, but we didn't hear anything from Tracy. He was just agreeing with whoever was on the other end of the line. Tony Cherry on the return.
55-yard kickoff by
slowed down by Jordan Gantner.
20 yards. Gantner in on the tackle for the Eskimos. First down, Stampeders.
From the 40, the Stampeders will begin. Here's Jordan.
Geez, I saw him on the field before the game. I don't even think he shaves yet, you know, Jordan Gantner. He's 31. He playing the special teams. Man, he looked young.
Maybe you're getting a little older.
Hey, don't be mean to me. It's our last game together this year, CFL. Don't be mean to me like that.
You didn't shave in your first year as a Rough Rider, did you?
Well, I did anyway. You are cruel, I tell you.
14-4, Stampeders lead the Eskimos. 1st and 10, Calgary. At the 40, here's Barrett for Andy McVeigh, and McVeigh finds a big hole over the middle. 1st down, Calgary, and more. Here's Andy McVeigh. Out near the 30. Mapp is finally forcing McVeigh out of touch. Nice little 37-yard call by Barrett.
Quick call, a roll out, and then he throws back the center screen to Andy McVeigh. And the pursuit of the watch the pursuit go to the left. The Edmonton defense all go left, and Andy McVeigh is there left open in the middle. He doesn't even need a good block to set him on his way to that 37-yard pickup. But so far in the first half, the Calgary Stampeders have really been executing well on offense, and that's the difference in this game.
1st down, Calgary from the 33. Barrett fakes a couple of times and looks to the corner. Intending that for Derek Crawford. Francis was covering.
Wally Bono just had a word with his defense, warning them not to hit Tracy Ham if he's close to the out-of-bounds line, just reminding them to play a disciplined kind of game. He's also concerned about Ham's scrambling ability, obviously, and he's worried about the draw play, that Eskimo ground game eating up yardage. Joe Clausey was just getting taped up again, a little bit of a bruise in the top of the foot. He'll be back in shortly. Dan Wicklum will play for him until then.
2nd and 10 for the Stampeders now. Barrett good on 7 of 10 so far. Looks to the end zone for Pitts. Pitts threw double coverage down there. Shelton was there. Enos Jackson as well.
That's one of the few times that Danny Barrett will ever throw into double coverage, but he knows one thing. Pitts is 6'4" and 200 pounds, and he has as good a chance as either Enos Jackson or David Shelton to come down with that football. And if it was any other receiver, I doubt that he would have thrown it, but Danny Barrett has confidence in the big, tall guy that he can either catch it or make sure the other guys don't.
Mark McLaughlin, good on 44 of 65 field goal tries. This one from the 40, shanked it. Will sail through for a single point.
It's a good thing the center didn't stand up.
Mark doesn't know quite what went wrong there. Anyway, the Stampeders pick up one more. It is 15-4 early in the second quarter.
This time out of play, it's time for the 7-11 dice toss. The rules are simple. Just give each die a throw and see what number you end up with. If your roll total is 7 or 11, you win $200 for the gas voucher for 7-11. Any other number will entitle you to $100 in gas certificates at 7-11. So here we go. Our first player is Bud Moore. Go for it.
The story from British Columbia on Saturday night was the debut of Major Harris. What a job he did running with the football as he ran for 2 touchdowns in the game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he also threw for 2 touchdowns in this game. Here he is scrambling around and then finally throwing one of his 2 touchdown passes. 35-28, the Lions finish strongly with their 6th win of the season in Toronto. Darrell K. Smith tied Pat Abruzzi's 34-year-old record with his 20th touchdown of the season. Abruzzi's record set with Montreal in 1956. Darrell K's had a heck of a year. The only reason he's not the Eastern nominee as the Player of the Year is because of this guy, the pinball, number 31, Mike Clemens, who scored 3 more touchdowns in this great victory over the Ottawa Roughriders at the Skydome on Saturday night. And he rambled in for a touchdown, 49-30. The Argos beat Ottawa.
And that may be the matchup in the Eastern semifinal next week. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers lead the Tiger Cats 25-12. 4th quarter in Winnipeg. If the Tiger Cats lose, the Ottawa Roughriders are in the playoffs. Correct?
You got it. I think they would have liked to have won last night to do it legit, but they will take it any way they can get it when they've been out of the playoffs for as long as they have.
Quick pitch from Ham to Blake Marshall, stopped by Matt Finley.
You know, you look at the Edmonton Eskimo offense at the beginning of the season, and they had like a lot of threats in there. Tommy Richards was coming off a 1,000-yard season receiving. Reggie Taylor off an unbelievable season. Now you look at the backfield, and hey, make no mistake, these guys are quality. Blake Marshall, Mike Souls, but they're not breakaway.
Keith Wright makes the catch, and that on 2nd and 7 is good for a first down for the Eskimos.
Just to finish that point a little further, you know, you take that one step further and you look at it defensively, you don't really worry about Souls and Marshall hurting on the ground. You think about Tracy Ham on the ground and then make sure we get a good coverage on the receivers. So the defense, the Edmonton Eskimos, things have become a little easier in the second half of the season.
1st and 10 Edmonton now from the 48. Ham far side. A target for Craig Ellis.
Daryl Hall right there with Craig Ellis, and you heard Ellis say that Hall's the kind of guy that likes to sit back 7-8 yards and give him a shot. That time he did that and really knocked Ellis off his pattern. Daryl Hall, the nominee from the Stampeders for Rookie of the Year, he has been a good one. Good size too, 6'2", 205, so it's that weight advantage that sometimes allows him to buck receivers off their pattern.
2nd and 10 Edmonton. From the 48, same call, flag is down, and no catch. Apparently got to Ellis a little bit, gave him a shot there. The intended receiver was Larry Willis.
It's just what I talked about. Hall gave him the shot, knocked him off the pattern, but got called for
Forward pass.
interference.
Calgary, number 7. First down, Edmonton.
So the Eskimos get the first down anyway.
Well, here it comes. Just what we talked about. Hall will settle down, try and bump the receiver, but that time the official felt that he gave him too much of a bump.
First down Edmonton. Blake Marshall had nowhere to go after making the catch.
Loss of 4. Maitland and Johnson in on the tackle for Calgary.
Johnson on the recovery for the Stampeders. Second down, Eskimos.
So it'll be 2nd and 14. Eskimos back on their own side of the 55.
Safety blitz.
Peterson can't bring Ham down, and out distances Johnson as well. He will come up short of the first down.
Now, Will Johnson did a great job, though. You know, he's 6'5", 240 pounds, and he was able to get enough of an angle on Tracy Ham to force him out of bounds. Greg Peterson initially had the great shot on the safety blitz, but he took a bad angle and allowed Ham to get to the outside. Johnson's having a great year, number 81 rather. Watch this at the end. Peterson misses, and Johnson 81. That's just enough of an angle to force him out short of the first down.
So on 3rd and 9, McElready is in to kick for the Eskimos. Nice one away. Smith back in his own zone, and he'll give up a single point. Wisely so. So the Calgary Stampeders continue to lead the Edmonton Eskimos. It is a showdown for top spot in the West on the final day of the CFL regular season. McMahon in Calgary with 9:57 to go till halftime, and the Calgary Stampeders in front of the Edmonton Eskimos 15-5. The all-Alberta showdown for top spot in the West.
It's funny talking to Joe Farragelli yesterday about the Battle of Alberta. He said, I've got so many new guys on my team. He says they've never heard of the Battle of Alberta. And it's really true. You know, the media wanted him to talk about the rivalry between these teams. And quite simply, he said, heck, you know, with so many new guys, they don't even know where Calgary is, some of them. And they don't know that we have a great rivalry. So, you know, it's more for the fans and the media than for my team at this point in time.
There are 10 Eskimos kicking around from the last Edmonton Grey Cup team, though, back in '87. There are no Stampeders kicking around from the last Calgary Grey Cup team. Andy McVeigh, that was 1971.
Maybe that'd be a long career if they're still around here. Andy McVeigh, University of Toronto product, and did they win yesterday? U of T, yeah,
I think
they won.
Yep.
They're in the final. Who do they play? Western now.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, they will travel to London next weekend.
First down for McVeigh and the Stampeders from the 45. Barrett in control so far, looking for Pitts. And he was a little off on that pass play.
Big pressure from number 89, Leroy Blue, in his second year out of Bishops. Bishops also big winners yesterday in the Quebec Conference, but Alan Pitts had no chance to catch that football. Leroy Blue was right in the face of Danny Barrett on the rollout just as he threw.
It'll be 2nd and 10 Stampeders. Calgary leading 15-5 at McMahon this afternoon. Barrett has time over the middle, wide open. Dave Sapunjas. And that is another Calgary first down. Sapunjas is dragged down a couple of yards into Edmonton territory by Larry Ruck.
Let's have a look at Danny back on zone coverage. He drops back, reads the quarterback, and he is so quick. He gets an exceptionally deep drop. That allows the Sapunjas to catch the hook around 8, turn it upfield for another 2, and pick up the first down. With Danny Bess, 11 years he's been around this league from Michigan State University. MVP in the league last year defensively.
12-yard gain, another first down Calgary. And Crawford couldn't hang on. He turned around and left the ball behind. David Shelton was covering on Derek Crawford that time.
Danny Bass couldn't have thrown it any better, and that's really the second time that Derek Crawford has dropped the ball that Danny Barrett has put right on the money. I mean, he found the hole. He did everything right. As if not, hang on to the football. And slowly, the Edmonton front four is starting to put a little more pressure on Danny Barrett. You recall in the first quarter, Barrett had all kinds of time to throw. Nobody really got a hand on him. Now it seems like every time when he's releasing the football, he's taking a pretty good hit.
2nd and 10, Stampeders. The Edmonton 53. Here's the pressure for Barrett. He's picked off this time. Keith Gooch, first interception of the game. And Gooch forced out by the intended receiver, Alan Pitts. Flags are down. Completely in the spirit of friendly competition this afternoon.
No, that's the way the toaster plays, but what a great interception by Keith Gooch. He's in his own coverage. He just drops off, reads the pattern, and comes up with his 7th interception of the year. And 5 times in his career, he's returned them for touchdowns, and that, of course, ranks 2nd on the CFL all-time list.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, 61 Calgary, first down Edmonton.
So the penalty goes against the Calgary Stampeders. Joe Farragelli's Eskimos have a first down. It's the Calgary side of the 50. Who is the penalty against?
Okay.
Was the penalty against Hall?
No, it was against Spallettini, Tom Spallettini.
Because they jumped all over my headset. I didn't hear it.
Well, Dale Harrell in his rookie season with the Stampeders has had a great season, but this afternoon he's up against the cagey one and Craig Ellis.
Well, as you guys know from the voting and just how he's played all year, he's a real good player. He goes after the football. And, you know, he's a good athlete, so he moves around real well. And for me, the main thing is move around real well with him. And he goes after the ball when it's in the air, so I got to go after the ball equally as well. So I got to be aggressive to the ball just like he is. And when the ball's in the air, become a receiver.
First down, Edmonton, number 47. Larry Willis makes the catch. Forced out by Peterson. Junior Thurman. Gain of 14, the Eskimos. Driving in with 7:26 to go till halftime. Edmonton trailing 15-5.
Well, this looked like a late hit here. He's out of bounds, and Greg Peterson, I think he got away with one there. Larry Willis out of bounds. He wanted to give his old teammate just a little extra shot.
First down for the Eskimos from the 28. Tracy Hand on the roll. There's Ellis down at the 1. Craig Ellis makes the catch. Greg Peterson makes the tackle, but the Eskimos threaten to add to their total.
This is why Craig Ellis has had such a great year. Initially, he's at the top of your screen, and he sees Ham in trouble, and he comes running all the way across the field. Peterson can't stay with him. He makes the diving 27-yard reception down to the 1, and he has had some kind of season, Craig Ellis.
First and goal to go. Eskimos at the 1, and there's the touchdown. Blake Marshall is in, and the Eskimos close the gap on Marshall's 12th rushing touchdown of the season.
Well, how about consistency for Blake Marshall? He had 11 on the ground last year, and now he's got 12 in 1990. Pretty easy trip, 230 pounds, tough to stop with only 1 yard to go, and he caps off a pretty good drive by the Edmonton Eskimos. They take advantage of the Keith Gooch interception, and it all culminates with his touchdown run by Greg Marshall.
Big penalty helps the Eskimos out as well. McAreedy's convert is good, and it's a 3-point ball game with the Eskimos coming back. Stampeders had a big lead. It is now reduced to 3 at 15-12, second quarter. Now, if you're the Calgary Stampeders, do you feel something slipping away on you against this rather talented Eskimo team?
I don't think you feel something slipping away, but I think you also have to think that, we had a big lead early, and Edmonton has come back. They seem to be in a much better team offensively. I'm sure is concerned defensively. They let Edmonton come down the field rather easily on that last drive for their touchdown.
And they let the Eskimos march rather impressively from the 1-yard line for a field goal in the previous sequence. Crawford on the return for the Stampeders finds a little seam, and he's out near midfield, forced out by Keith Wright. 41-yard return for Derek Crawford. This might be the spark the Stampeders need.
John, you know, you look at the Stampeders offensively, they're 7th in the league in total offense. They're 7th running the football, and they're 7th throwing the football. So why are they in first place? Well, it's special teams. Simple as that. Guys like Derek Crawford and Ronnie Hopkins, Tony Cherry, Pee Wee Smith have consistently given Danny Barrett and the rest of the quarterbacks great field position with which to start their drives. Hey, look, they're playing on half the field right now. They're starting right at midfield.
From the 54, there's a first down, Calgary. Barrett, far side. Sapunjas makes the catch. Stopped short of a first down. Barrett Mathis, number 13.
David Sapunjas, rookie from the Western Ontario Mustangs, and he really has taken over from Marshall Toner at that slot back spot. Toner started the season. Now Sapunjas starting his 9th game, and I think that's his 2nd catch this afternoon. Had one over the middle, and now on the out on Mark Mathis.
Gain of 8 for Sapunjas. This is 2nd and 2, Calgary. Now at the Eskimo 48. Nowhere to go. Andy McVeigh is wrapped up.
Great penetration from number 91, the toaster, Brett Williams. He beat the block of Leo Blanchard, snuck in there, and he keeps McVeigh short. And on 2nd and 2, you know, you're thinking, hey, we're going to pick this thing up easy, but with that good penetration, he stops McVeigh well short, and Wally Buono not in a gambling mood here in the first half.
Wally sends Brent Matic in, averaging 43.4 yards per punt. Matic tries to hem the Eskimos deep in their zone, and accomplishes that as the ball trickles out at the 7. No run for the Gizmo.
Here's something you could look up. The last time Calgary was in the Grey Cup was 71. Since then, Edmonton has played in 11 and has won it 9 times. You could look it up. And keep in mind as well that the Calgary Stampeders were the 2nd least penalized team in the league coming into this game. The penalties have killed them here in the 2nd quarter.
It has been a major problem, no doubt about it. So the Eskimos begin at the 7. Edmonton trailing by 3. Michael Souls is forced back inside the 5. Walter Ballard, the doctor, made the stop.
Only got a couple of sacks in 17 games this year, but Walter Ballard has controlled that defensive end spot with a great deal of enthusiasm for the Calgary Stampeders. In fact, their entire front 4 has had an excellent year. Kent Warnock, Will Johnson, 2 and 3 in the sack department in the CFL. Here comes the blitz again, Greg Peterson.
2nd and 10, hand to the near side for Reichs, and that is a first down. Nice pattern by Keith Wright to get the Eskimos out of a deep hole. 12-yard game.
That's a good pattern, but Brian Walling, number 34, is in the backfield for the Edmonton Eskimos, and he does a great job picking up the safety blitz from Greg Peterson. Tracy Ham has all kinds of time to throw, and with the blitz coming, Ronnie Hopkins allowing Keith Wright a lot of room on the outside, and they pick up the first down.
Eskimos are out at the 19 now.
This gets frustrating defensively. You know, they've had Edmonton starting one drive at their 1 and now another one deep, and Edmonton slowly able to work their way out of trouble.
Tracy Ham looks deep. Larry Willis can't bring it home.
Larry Willis on the out and up on Junior Thurman, and he had him. Thurman bit on the out, and Tracy Ham laid it out there, but Larry Willis just couldn't catch up with it. But he had Thurman, and had he caught that one, I doubt that Greg Peterson would have been able to catch him from behind. The Stampeders pretty lucky right there.
2nd and 10 for the Eskimos now. Calgary leads it 15-12 at stake, top spot in the West.
I think this is a critical down right now. If Calgary's allowed them to get out of trouble, now they have a chance to pin them deep, 2nd and long. See what happens.
Tracy Ham escapes. Can he get a first down? Yes, he does. Out to the 30. That's enough for an Edmonton first down. 11 yards.
Well, we talk about the kind of running that Tracy Ham can hurt you with, and you know, if it's 2nd and 10 and he runs and picks up 8, well, you don't care about it. But if it's 2nd and 10 and he picks up 11, yeah, that becomes a problem. Matt Finley cannot wrap him up and keep him from getting that first down. And so far, Tracy Ham's running has been a difference here in the first half.
Ham has carried 5 times for 59 yards. Blake Marshall stopped by Kent Warnock that time on 1st and 10.
There's no question Wally Buono should be concerned. He's seen his defense have Edmonton in some very vulnerable situations, 2nd and long here in the first half, but it seems like time and time again Tracy Ham is able to get them out of it. Not too many times today have they been 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3. It's always 2nd and long, but Tracy Ham and his offense has done the job.
Timeout at McMahon. The 3-minute warning flag is up, with the Calgary Stampeders trying to hang on to a 3-point lead on the Edmonton Eskimos. We'll continue on the TSN Game of the Week after this. Our Game of the Week from McMahon Stadium. The Calgary Stampeders needed a strong first quarter. They got that for the first time against the Edmonton Eskimos this season. The second quarter, the Stampeders have faltered a little bit, and the Eskimos have closed within 3 points. In a nutshell, that's the story to hear.
I think it's been a very well-played game. A couple of turnovers, but so far, I think Joe Farraghelli would be happy with his team. They have been sluggish in the first half of their last few ball games. Wally Buono's team has not been sluggish this afternoon. They've come out, and I'll remind you, they are 8-0-1 when they lead at halftime, and they are only 3 minutes away from going into the locker room with a lead at halftime.
2nd and 10 for Tracy Ham and the Eskimos. Can Ham get away again? No, not that time. That will go as a sack. Ham caught behind the line of scrimmage. Wicklum was there. Who's taking credit for it? Everybody, I think.
I don't know who's going to get the sack, but who made the great play was 79 Walter Ballard. He will not get the sack. What? Ham wants to get to the outside. See, Ballard forced him back inside where he's going to get some help, and that is the key. Craig Ellis, well, let's check on the matchup tonight with Daryl Hall. There you see the bump by Hall, and it throws Ellis off just enough, but Tracy Ham, it was the pressure up front. He had no chance to get it to Ellis downfield.
Ray McEready enters. Good charge, but McEready gets it away. This is Derek Crawford on the return for the Stampeders. Crawford is out to midfield once more. Stamps have excellent field position. Once again, 15-yard return, 41-yard kick. 2:24 to go till halftime. Stampeders in control of a 15-12 advantage at this stage. Calgary started its last drive about the same position. No points, though. Beats on Barrett. Can he get away? Still going. Barrett not noted as a runner, but he comes up with a big first down. For Calgary early in the season, but he did not run a great deal in the last few games.
Well, he didn't through the injury mostly. You know, he had a lot of yardage early in the season, but through injury and missing some games, did not pile up a great deal of yards in the last half of the season, but this run is a great run. Good block by Lloyd Fairbanks on Larry Ruck right there. And that is a great run to pick up the first down.
This is Cherry on first down for Calgary. He is met by Mark Mathis, number 13. Mark it as a gain of 5.
That's a great tackle by Mark Mathis, because downfield the defensive backs have been knocked down, and had Cherry been able to get by him, he had a lot of room to run with it. But the keys for the Stampeders, of course, in this first half has been first down production. They haven't seen too many second and long situations. Whoa, how about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? It looks as though you can start celebrating in Ottawa. You'll be in the playoffs, and you'll go back to Skydome next week.
2nd and 5. Barrett dumped it out for Cherry. He couldn't handle the pass.
Barrett pass to Tony Cherry, incomplete. Third down.
Here comes the field goal units. Dan Barrett.
Well, he can't believe he dropped the ball. I mean, that was a good throw, and it was set up, and probably would have picked up a first down and kept his drive going, but not able to do so. The last time Mark McLaughlin tried a field goal from this range, he hit a line drive.
He now needs 2 points to set a team record of 202. A record he owns already. So he'll add to his own record if he makes this. And he now needs 1 point, because that's 2 knuckleballs from McLaughlin this afternoon. Goes a 57-yard single is what it will go down as.
It's not like him. He's usually one of the more consistent kickers in the league. We've had some great seasons by kickers. Paul Osbaldiston with his percentage. Dave Ridgway in Saskatchewan with all kinds of success. Mark McLaughlin usually a little more reliable than what he's shown this afternoon.
The Eskimos begin with a first down at the 37. 16-12. Stampeders lead by 4. Stampeders have been tough against the run. Latter stages of the second quarter.
Tackled by Mitchell Price. Second down, Eskimos.
John Stone carrying that time.
Coming up at the half, we'll have a sports update from TSN Control in Toronto. And we'll meet the Outstanding Player Award nominees. Those awards to be handed out Friday night of Grey Cup week in Vancouver. Lee Pedersen along with first half highlights of this game from Calgary.
2nd and 10 Eskimos. Ham rolling out. He can't get away. Lost the ball, but it trickled out of bounds. Now there's a flag down near the 50. Henry Smith on Tracy Ham that time. Has been shaken up a couple of times this afternoon.
You recall when he was knocked out of bounds, the roughing penalty on Joe Crosby, he grabbed down to that right ankle, and once again as he hits the turf, he's grabbing that right ankle.
Penalty will go against the Stampeders. We'll wait for the official call from Ken Lazarick.
You can't tear nobody up. You can't tear
Tracy
nobody
Ham
up.
shaken up.
Legal contact and now the receiver. 10-yard penalty. Calgary. First down Edmonton.
Eskimos will get a first down. There's Ham.
Well, you can see the right ankle gets a little twisted underneath Henry Smith as he makes the tackle, but you can see Ronnie Hopkins on the illegal contact right there as Keith Wright goes for the out and up. He says, you're not going by me. A couple of crucial penalties this afternoon in the first half have kept drives going for the Edmonton Eskimos. The roughing penalty on Ham, on Klaus, he kept the drive going when they would have had to give it up here. They would have had to give it up again. Ronnie Hopkins gets called for the contact downfield. See the numbers.
Interesting story on penalties. In total, the Stampeders 84 yards in penalties. Penalties have kept a couple of Eskimo drives alive. So Tracy Ham heads to the sidelines. Listed as the backup, Steve Taylor, number 10. followed by Warren Jones, number 6. Here's Taylor. A couple of touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not a great deal of playing time in 1990.
It's funny talking to Craig Ellis before the game, and we were talking about his buddy Daryl Smith in Toronto, and you know what makes Daryl Smith's year even more incredible is the fact that he's had 5 different quarterbacks throwing to him, and Craig Ellis said, you know, had that been me here in Edmonton with 5 different quarterbacks, he said, there's not a chance I would have caught over 100 passes. I mean, it just wouldn't have happened. So that was an interesting observation.
So the Eskimos will have a first down with 1:03 to go from the 47. Stampeders lead it 16-12. Steve Taylor in for Tracy Ham. Taylor looks to throw now. He'll sprint out of there, and Taylor comes up with a first down as he crosses the 50. Henry Smith over to make the stop at last. Taylor could not find a receiver, and he found a first down.
Pretty good run from the University of Nebraska product, Steve Taylor. And, you know, in university, he had 157 yards rushing in one game. So, you know, it's a part of his style. He likes to tuck it under the arm and go with it.
Eskimos first down at the Calgary 50. Taylor looks to throw this time. Far side, on target for Larry Willis. Thurman wrestled him down. And it'll be another Eskimo first down.
Calgary's coming with a lot of blitzes here in the second quarter. The Edmonton Eskimo offensive line and backs are doing a good job to pick them up. There's the stunt, the blitz coming from the outside. They will pick that up. That allows Steve Taylor the time to step up and deliver a strike to Larry Willis.
Eskimos at the 37, another first down. Taylor stands in and fires low but complete to Craig Ellis at the 30. 23 seconds till halftime.
Well, Craig Ellis, one more catch away from breaking Brian Kelly's team record. 104 right now.
18 seconds to go. Taylor had nowhere to go that time. Pinned by Johnson. Now 13 seconds remain. Will Wally call a timeout? I think so.
I think if you can hear them on the sidelines, Wally Buono saying, if Ray Macarini misses this field goal, either run it out or kick it out, do whatever you can, and try and give up that single point. I think the Eskimos must be encouraged. They took that missed field goal by Mark McLaughlin, and they was driven down nicely with backup quarterback Steve Taylor and put themselves in a position to tighten this game up.
Macarini will try a 42-yard field goal. 37-yard field goal, I should say. This one is tipped. And the Stampeders will not have to give up a single point, perhaps. That was interesting down there.
That's a smart play. Once he went into the end zone, he said, I'm not going to pick it up. They got to give me 5 yards. So that was a good play by Derek Crawford. He will get the no yards call. But even if he didn't, he would have been able to get it out of the end zone. That was a heads-up play. Just let it roll around. So they call a timeout. They set up a play to come in and try and block it. Number 81, Will Johnson, the defensive end, gets a big hand up. He's 6'4", rather 6'5", and he's the one that tips it.
No yards. Edmonton, number 32. First down, Calgary.
So with 1 second unofficially on the clock at McMahon till halftime, Stampeders lead the Eskimos by 4, 16-12. And Calgary will be content to just run out this final second. Dan Barrett goes down on one knee and protects the 4-point advantage for Calgary on Edmonton. So the Stampeders opened quickly. The Eskimos came back and closed within 4. 16-12, Calgary in the lead at halftime in Calgary.
And what play? The field goal? No, he's over.
Welcome back to McMahon Stadium in Calgary. At the half, the Stampeders, on the strength of a strong performance in the first quarter, are hanging on to a 16-12 lead over the Edmonton Eskimos in the final game of the 1990 regular season. First place on the line in the CFL's West Division. I think the nominees this year for the CFL awards can be judged as much by the people who did not get nominated as for the play of the people who did. They have been terrific in 1990. Mike Clemens is the first Argo to be named the East Division's outstanding player since Terry Greer in 1983. Clemens has collected more than 3,000 yards returning punts and kickoffs, as well as rushing the football and catching it. He broke Rufus Crawford's record for all-purpose yards in a season this year. He'll be up against Eskimos slotback Craig Ellis, who has 17 touchdowns and almost 1,600 yards receiving. Ellis has caught a league-leading 102 passes. The battle for Outstanding Canadian features Hamilton place kicker Paulus Wollaston and Saskatchewan slotback Ray Elgard. But Wollaston has had another great season. He needs just 3 more points to put together back-to-back 200-point campaigns. Ray Elgard has set career highs this season in Saskatchewan, 89 receptions for better than 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. Elgard won this award 2 years ago. 2 of the best linemen in the league are featured in the battle for outstanding linemen. Chris Walby of Winnipeg, Jim Mills of the BC Lions. And the battle continues for the Outstanding Defensive Player Award. Winnipeg's Greg Battle will represent the East for the 2nd season. With 95 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 4 sacks, Battle will be facing Edmonton's sack leader Stu Hill for this award. Hill leads the league with 17 sacks. The former Rookie of the Year has been named Edmonton's top defensive performer in 3 of his 7 seasons in the CFL. And a couple of running backs will vie for the CFL's top freshman honors, Reggie Barnes and Lucius Floyd. Barnes has played in 13 games and is 2nd in the league in rushing with over 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns. Saskatchewan's Lucius Floyd has played in 11 games as well. He's been used as a pass receiver and as a running back and has been a terrific performer for John Gregory's team this year. And the awards to be handed out the Friday night of Grey Cup week in Vancouver. At the half, the Calgary Stampeders lead the Edmonton Eskimos 16-12. Lots more ahead on the CFL on TSN.
I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, I guess so. First time in 5 years the Ottawa Rough Riders are in the playoffs. Is that 5 years? 85? 85?
They have the East standings on still.
Who is the left?
You can come this way. You're a hell of a goal. I didn't tell you.
Back to you. 5, 4, 3, 2.
A showdown for top spot at McMahon Stadium in Calgary this afternoon. The Stampeders hang on to a 4-point advantage on the Edmonton Eskimos. at the half on TSN's Game of the Week. Earlier today on the out-of-town scoreboard, the Blue Bombers 32-15 over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That means the Cats are out of the playoffs, and the Ottawa Rough Riders make it to the playoffs for the first time since 1985. It has been a long time for the Ottawa Rough Riders getting to the playoffs. They had a chance to make it there all by themselves with a win over the Argos last night. They could not do that, but a little help from the Bombers today. And you see the final standings in the Eastern Division with the Blue Bombers hosting the Eastern Final 3 weeks from now. Toronto hosting the Eastern Semifinal next week. And Ottawa will be there against the Argos in a battle for berth in the Eastern Final for the very first time. So next week in the East, it'll be the Argos and the Ottawa Rough Riders in the Eastern Final at Skydome in Toronto. Halftime here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where the Stampeders hold on to a 4-point advantage on the Edmonton Eskimos.
The Eastern Final in Winnipeg in 3 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks. Oh, who's? Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Let them know I changed boxes, will you please? So sorry? Am I still on the same mic?
The same one.
Okay. Hi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Calgary special teams have been a big part of the Stampeders' success this year. Calgary special teams were a big part of the Stampeders' drive in the first quarter. Leif Pettersson now with first half highlights. Leif?
Peter, I think it's the biggest reason why they are in first place as they are this afternoon. But, you know, I thought that the Stampeders really did what they wanted to do in that first half, and that was to start quickly. And, boy, they didn't waste any time on their first possession as Danny Barrett dropped back and he hit his favorite receiver so far in 1990, Derek Crawford, down the sidelines. Now, they weren't picking on the easy one. They went after Andre Francis right off the bat, and that big catch down the sidelines finally set up this 2-yard touchdown run by Andy McVeigh, his 3rd touchdown of the season. Great push by that offensive line of the Calgary Stampeders. They are up early, 7-0. They didn't let up at all as later in the first quarter, Danny Barrett with lots of time to throw a little out and up to Alan Pitts, and he came up with his 7th touchdown. Tracy Ham also a factor in that first half. 31-yard run right there. And although his rushing really didn't result in any direct scores by the Edmonton Eskimos, it was enough to keep the Calgary defense off balance all afternoon. Craig Ellis, well, he's trying to establish an Edmonton Eskimo record for receptions in 1 year. This was his first catch of the afternoon. That set up Edmonton's only touchdown by Blake Marshall, his 12th, but Ellis only 1 catch away now from establishing an Edmonton Eskimo record. Listen, I'm going to remind you, Calgary 8-0-1 when they lead at halftime. They're leading right now at 16-12. We'll see what happens, Peter.
Thank you, Leif. Tracy Ham has a bruised toe, and that was his problem at the end of the second quarter there. We'll see if he's able to come back to start quarter 3, and that's coming up next from Calgary.
How about another nice hand for the Meade High School band from Spokane, Washington? All right, we have 4 calls to make the line for the fan appreciation today from Alberta Luke and her Cowboy Luke. Selection of Lane Tire Center, sending 2 tires to Rock 4. Power players, 2 $150
At the half, the Calgary Stampeders lead the Edmonton Eskimos 16-12. Stampeders jumped out early with 2 first-quarter touchdowns. The Eskimos have been able to take advantage of some Calgary penalties in the second quarter to narrow the lead. There are the numbers, a lot of offense, particularly in first downs acquired, ball control offense by both teams. But again, it's penalties in the second quarter that I think disrupted the flow of the Calgary attack, particularly the defensive side, and that's one of the big factors in the Stampeder loss of momentum in the second quarter of this game.
Stampeders with a 14-1 first quarter lead. The Eskimos have narrowed it to a 4-point advantage right now. It's 16-12 Calgary. Dan Barrett good on 9 of 17, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And we're ready for the second half to get underway at McMahon Stadium. Short kick. McVeigh can't handle it. Crawford picks it up. And he is decked at the 35. Goods was there. 3-yard return.
Maybe that's the way to do it. Kick it on the ground and don't let them ever get anything set up for those big returns. I think that's probably the first time this year that Crawford's been held to only 3 yards on a kickoff return. The numbers, as John told you, for Danny Barrett, pretty good. Typical first half for Danny Barrett. The 1 interception was made by Keith Gooch, but a half that kind of typifies the way he plays. He just doesn't beat himself.
First and 10 now. Stampeders at the 36. Calgary leading by 4. A showdown for top spot in the West. Nowhere to go for Tony Cherry. He is knocked for a loss back to the 30. Sammy Goods, or Benny Goods, I should say.
Benny Goods in his second game, and he gets the penetration, beats the block of Andy McVeigh, just slides underneath, and no chance for Tony Cherry to get to the outside. We suggested at the beginning of the game that Calgary would try and do that, to get outside against Leroy Blue and Benny Goods, but so far they have not been able to gain a great deal of yardage around those 2 defensive ends.
Barrett on second and long, gets away. Andy McVeigh makes the catch. Does he make the first down? He should have it. Awfully close for Andy McVeigh.
Well, Andy McVeigh did a good job first to initially make the catch. That's what he's thinking. He says, I know if I can make this catch, I have time to get up and run for the first down. Mike Walker could not come up with the sack. Barrett gets away, delivers the strike, and we'll see if McVeigh, in fact, was able to pick up that first down. That's the big thing. Make the catch first and then worry about getting the first down. He did the smart play.
'71 consecutive games for Andy McVeigh. 3rd and inches.
About 2 of them.
About 2.
I guess that's why it's inches instead of inch. Yeah, the one center screen that he caught in the first half that went for 37 yards, and that time a 13-yard reception for Andy McVeigh. So the Stampeders will gamble on 3rd down. Leo Blanchard. Now, you think they're on him out there? Leo was doing the talking in the paper about the Edmonton Eskimos and how they have no class and all this and that, and then he jumps offside. Now, they are giving it back to him royally.
9 penalties.
Legal procedure. Calgary number 59, 3rd down still.
So it goes from 3rd and inches to a kicking situation.
Well, he came out nice and low. Everything looked good. Hey, you know, that's a big play. Almost an automatic first down, and then they have to punt.
On the return, Williams gets out to the 40. Run down there by Mark Singer. Following today's game, the TSN Turning Point will be brought to you by Firestone. That might come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
First down now for the Eskimos. Edmonton beginning at the 40. Steve Taylor remains in at quarterback. Michael Souls remains the key runner. Taylor good on 2 of 2 for 20 yards. Souls stopped by Finley.
So Steve Taylor will remain in the ball game, taking over for Tracy Ham, who injured, it looked like, his right ankle late in the second quarter. And Steve Taylor did a nice job directing them down to an attempted field goal by Ray McAredia, which was blocked. But it is on his shoulders to lead this team that trails by 4 points as they try to capture first place in the Western Conference.
This is 2nd and 9. Taylor comes to the near side for Greg Ellis, and he was well off target. Ellis was covered by Darrell Hall.
Yeah, that's the matchup we've been looking at. Darrell Hall right there. Good time protection for Steve Taylor to step up and release that football. He just simply overthrew it.
Today's football game, Channel 2 and 7 present the Academy Award-winning movie, The Godfather, at 6:30.
Ray McAready set to punt from his 25. Crawford set to return near his 32. On the sidelines, Crawford forced out. About the 47. Mike McLean over to force him out. 37-yard kick, 31-yard return.
Well, the Stampeders worked so hard to get a block on their special teams. Great block coming up right there on Michel Bourgeau. That allows Derek Crawford, who scored 3 times on punt returns so far this season, to get down the sidelines and once again give Danny Barrett and the offense great field position. I mean, I can't remember one drive starting deep in their own territory. It seems like they've all been out right around midfield, and well, you're only like 1-2 first downs away from field goal range. That makes it easy for a quarterback.
1st and 10 for the Stampeders. They begin at the 53, and Barrett unloads for Crawford. Can he make the catch? He does. 52 yards. Crawford hangs on.
Well, it's almost the way they started the football game. Derek Crawford, watch, he gets to the inside of Francis, turns him around, and there's no help coming from the middle safety, David Shelton. Francis is all on his own, and boy, that ball cannot be thrown any better by Barrett rather. He gets to the outside and he throws it as far as he can throw it. Crawford runs underneath it. Calgary Stampeders find themselves knocking on the door.
Long time in the air as you watch for Barrett to celebrate the reception. Crawford set up a touchdown earlier for the Stampeders. Now 1st and 5. Andy McVeigh. He is down to about the 2-leaf.
Big hit by number 30, Danny Bass, on Andy McVeigh, but there's the fellow who made the great catch, Derek Crawford, and no question, he has been the biggest play receiver for them in 1990.
Nice little afternoon going.
Whoa, I'd say that's pretty good. Alan Pitts has had more catches, but Derek Crawford's come up with all the spectacular plays this year.
Stampeders now 2nd and goal. 2nd and goal from the 1. Touchdown. Cherry has the touchdown. Stampeders reclaim a more substantial lead. Nice little party down there.
Very important series for the Calgary Stampeders. They started off quickly, scoring 14 points in the first quarter. But Edmonton kind of slipped back into the game in the second quarter. Now in the third, they have come out and reestablished themselves. A good drive, big catch by Derek Crawford, and now the 1-yard touchdown run by Tony Cherry, and they find themselves with a more comfortable lead, as you mentioned, John.
Total it up, it is 23 for the Stampeders, 12 for the Edmonton Eskimos. And one more gallop for old Trigger.
Well, Trigger, a little chilly day. Trigger gets to stretch out the hamstrings a little bit. There you go. Put the brakes on, Trigger. Now there's snow down there. Okay. Tony Cherry, 8th touchdown on the ground this year.
And 6th game for Anthony Cherry as a Calgary Stampeder. Reason to celebrate here. Big touchdown for Calgary.
Remember, if your seat is drawn, you have a Sports Select ticket with you. You'll also win extra breakup
52 Crawford set up, right?
Thank you, Don. You've just
What is it?
Great Cup number 2 to Vancouver. The immediately. It's also time for some more fan appreciation draws.
Tracy Ham a little late coming out for the second half. He has a bruised left toe. They've done a little extra taping on the toe and some remodeling work of whatever's possible on that shoe. I think he'll try it here in the third quarter, but if he is not able to go, it'll be up to Steve Taylor to try and rally the Eskimos here in the second half.
Well, there's the guy.
Calgary, yo, Calgary ain't no joke, baby. First place is ours. We taking it, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. They visitors, baby. This is our house.
Well, it has been a long time since this house has truly belonged to the Calgary Stampeders against the Eskimos in particular. Calgary leading 23-12 as the Eskimos start to come back with Henry Gizmo Williams out across the 35. Stampeders special teams have done a pretty good job. Defense and kick returns today.
They've done a great job all season long. The Gizmo, one of the best, has not really had a great deal of room to operate. Keith Wright says, Henry, you're better at this than I am, so you have it. And you try and break one. He's not able to do so. And start from the own 38-yard line. There's the Giz. Punctured lung, missed a couple of games, but back in the lineup this afternoon.
And Tracy Ham is back. For Larry Willis. Junior Thurman was covering on Willis.
Junior Thurman was there, but it was 37. Matt Finley back in his deep drop that forced Tracy Ham to throw it just a little out of the reach of Larry Willis. Matt Finley, good size at 6'2", 225. There you see him right there, and he has to throw it over top and just out of the reach of Larry Willis.
Early in the third quarter. 2nd and 10 Edmonton. Tracy Ham carries himself, forced out by Finley once more. Well short of a first down, the Eskimos will be kicking.
Well, that's what I talked about earlier. Now he's going to pick up 7 yards, and that's going to be nice going on his total for the afternoon, but it will not pick up the first down. So in the scheme of things on defense for the Stampeders, they'll say, hey, Tracy, you can have all those 7-yard runs you want as long as they don't hurt us by allowing you to pick up first downs, and Edmonton will have to give up the football. I think he's hurting with that toe. He is not going to be as mobile as he was in the first half.
Ray McAreedy standing at his 30. Nice little kick here. On the return, Pee Wee Smith for the Stampeders. He's out at the 26. So McAreedy forces Calgary deep. And with 9:18 to play, third quarter, the Stampeders continue in front, 23-12. They've never trailed.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your...
Yes. That's correct. That was a nice shot from the end zone, guys. Look good. Yeah.
I can remember only a couple of occasions so far that Danny Barrett has rolled out and run with the football, but he told me before the game he thought that would be one of the keys. of the Stampeder performance
Well, I think
today?
we have to establish Tony Cherry early into the ball game, get him involved. He's pretty explosive once he gets going, and I think that would be the key. And what that does, it opens up our play action attack against these guys, especially for their linebackers. They key to run so well, so we can freeze them a second. I think it'll give us an extra opportunity to get the ball downfield. And also, I'll have to be a little bit mobile today myself and hopefully be able to get into the end zone and put the flaps down and slow down a little bit because I'll be moving too fast.
Put the flaps down. I love it. Tony Cherry got the touchdown. He hasn't been overly explosive this afternoon, but one major to his credit.
Here's Barrett on first down. Cherry makes the catch. He's stopped behind the line of scrimmage, I believe, by Larry Ruck. Danny Bass in the area as well.
Larry Ruck made an outstanding play. They're trying to set up the screen to Tony Cherry, and watch number 65, Mike Palumbo. He cuts Larry Ruck, but he's able to stay on his feet and make the tackle. That is some kind of defensive play.
Loss of 3. This will be 2nd and 13 for the Stampeders. Back deep in their own zone for one of the very few times this afternoon. Barrett getting it back. Might have been lucky.
Seems like one of the few times that Edmonton will probably get the ball in reasonable field position to begin a drive. Henry Gizmo Williams, ever dangerous back there awaiting this punt. Fred Matic, the leader in the CFL. There you see his numbers on the day. He usually outkicks his opponent.
Good kick for Matic. Chasing Williams right back to the 30. The Gizmos lost even more ground, and what a great tackle by Matt Finley. -4 on the return for Gizmo Williams. 60-yard kick for Matic.
Not bad, eh? A minus or a net 64 on your punt. Look at the speed of Matt Finley. Hey, now they're going toe-to-toe in a foot race, and Matt Finley at 6'2" and 225 pounds stays with Henry the Gizmo Williams. Hey, that is great. I mean, that's why the Stampeders are in first place. They play special teams with a great deal of desire and zest, and you saw a great example of it right there.
First down for the Eskimos, and Tracy Ham has nowhere to go. Kent Warnock, number 93 there with a sack. Third sack for the Stampeders this afternoon.
First one for Ken Warnock, his 15th on the season. The Warrior, as they call him here in Calgary, and rightfully so, 6'7", 270. Who's he look like?
Well, it looks like Darth Vader out there with that colored mask.
Very pleasant young man, and leads all tackles in the league in tackles, and having himself a whale of a season.
2nd and 17, facing Ham now. Almost picked off. Intended for Ellis. David McCrary almost had 6.
You know, there's only one little wet spot on the entire field, and why it's there, I have no idea, because it's been dry for the last couple of days, but Tracy Ham slipped in it just as he threw that football. He is wearing running shoes instead of cleats, and that almost afforded David McCrary the opportunity to pick that football off. And we talked about it, John, you and I at the beginning of this show, that the crowd would be a factor for the Stampeders this afternoon, and they have been in this one since the opening kickoff.
Well, the Stampeders got a quick start, scored on the first offensive sequence. And that has kept them alive at McMahon this afternoon, the fans. On the return, Pee Wee Smith. And again, the Stampeders will have good field position, not necessarily for Smith's return that time. Sincar, pretty good tackle.
Here it is.
Return, sorry.
Here it is once again, John. Here's the Stampeders. They're starting in Edmonton territory, and really legitimately only one first down away from a field goal try. So they really have been playing on a short field. Wow. Look like the proverbial pretzel right here. Watch this one. Check out your flexibility.
First down. Stampeders at the 52. Barrett in some trouble, and he is down. Flag goes down on Benny Goods. A little face mask action, I do believe.
Well, that's a bad break for Edmonton. They had him pinned back there. Would have got the sack, no question about it. It'll turn around if the Stampeders get an automatic first down with that face mask.
Major foul on the face mask on the 40 Edmonton. First down, Calgary.
Well, we're going to have a look at it, and the Edmonton Eskimos did everything right. They get the pressure, Larry Ruck on the blitz, and Benny Goods brings Barrett down, but he unfortunately got his hand caught up in the face mask area. You know, these things aren't intentional, but he got called. They got the major foul and an automatic first down.
And look where the Stampeders are now. From the 37-yard line, another Calgary first down. Cherry breaks through. Danny Bass had a hold of behind. Cherry grabs 5.
One of the great keys for Danny Barrett this afternoon has been their first down production. Not too many times this afternoon as he faced this tough defense of the Edmonton Eskimos in a second and long position, and I'm sure that has been of some concern to Joe Farraghelli this afternoon. He's seen his defense over the course of the season give up a record amount of points for them.
Barrett has some room to go himself. Sliding down at the 25. Second and 5. They'll have the first down.
Gain of 5 yards on the play.
It will be another Calgary first down.
A smart play by Barrett. He knew only 5 yards to go, and rather than take the chance of throwing it, he could pick it up himself, do the slide, not get hurt. And that's one of the reasons why I always say about Danny Barrett, the kind of guy that doesn't beat himself and does the little things that it takes to win a football game.
4 carries for Barrett, 23 yards in total this afternoon. Another one there, and it is first and 10 Calgary at the 26. Slides her down as Barrett fires for Crawford. Couldn't hang on. Maybe a little holding detected down there, Leifer.
Haven't been too many holding penalties called today, but I think you're right on this one.
Holding. Calgary number 61. First down, repeat it.
That's Tom Spallettini. So it'll be first and 20. Stampeders move back to the 36 with 4:47 to go. In the third quarter, Calgary leading the Eskimos 23-12. And top spot in the Western Division on the line at McMahon Stadium today.
Well, I think Danny Barrett, being the smart quarterback that he is thinking first and 20. What I'd like to do is grab 10 on this down and 10 on the next down and take my chances that way.
Penalties have hurt the Stampeders this afternoon. They continue to lead. Barrett looks to the end zone. Crawford, touchdown.
Or go for it all.
You see, yeah, absolutely correct. Crawford beats Francis. Nifty little 36-yard strike. Crawford, 4 catches, 136 yards. He's having a day.
Well, I think it's only fitting, too, that Derek Crawford get a touchdown himself. 2 of his big long catches have set up other touchdowns by Stampeders, Andy McVeigh and Tony Cherry. So this time, once again, the long bomb. He gets inside Andre Francis, and boy, those long passes have been come against one of the best corners in the league, and shows you what kind of receiver Derek Crawford is.
Nice little call on a first and 20. Not go for it all. You have to go halfway back, right?
Well, I'm conservative. You see, Danny Barrett says, I know that's what Edmonton's thinking. They're going to sit on the out thinking I'm going to go 10, so I'll just go over the top of it. And there you see good protection for Danny Barrett, and he lets it fly. And at the other end of that rainbow is Derek Crawford with his 11th touchdown.
I like that line. At the other end of that rainbow.
Yep.
They worked up a pretty good act.
You taught them that one, didn't you?
Barrett, 13 of 21, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Calgary has a 30-12 lead on the Edmonton Eskimos in the showdown for the top spot north. Yeah, that's not bad. Maybe fourth quarter, though.
Yeah, it's a little premature, but I think you could bring it in. You don't want to tick off the Edmonton fans too much, eh?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time again to check the Wednesday class on page C7 of your game program.
Welcome back to McMahon Stadium, Calgary. John Wells along with Lee Pedersen and Peter Watts. We are here for the showdown for top spots in the Western Division. The Calgary Stampeders are winning it so far. There's a guy who's had a lot to do with it. He set up 2 touchdowns for Calgary and caught one just a moment ago to put the Stampeders into a 30-12 lead.
And he has had a great afternoon. I mean, you know, let's hear from him.
One more from a little boy. I love you.
Henry Williams lost the ball. The Stampeders recover at the 30. The recovery by Harold Hasselback. Turnover each way so far.
Well, I know there's a lot of football left in this game, but really this play here could turn the tide. The Stampeders ahead 30-12. Williams coughs it up. Hasselbeck with the recovery. And with a little better than 4 minutes remaining here in the third quarter, I think the Stampeders really have a chance to put this one away.
First down at the 30 for Calgary. The Stampeders should come away with points here. Not much for Dan Barrett that time. Pretty good hit down there, too. Pushing and shoving after the whistle. Jackson is in there, and so is Braswell for the Eskimos.
Watch the hit that Danny Barrett takes right here. Here comes Enos Jackson right there, and he plants the helmet right up into the chin of Barrett and steps on him and sits on him, and, well, you know, that's the way Enos plays.
Barrett actually grabbed 4 yards. This will be 2nd and 6. For the corner, this one is picked off. 2nd interception of the game for the Eskimos. And Andre Francis is forced out near the 15. 7th interception of the season for Andre Francis. Ball got away from Barrett.
Well, you know, Andre Francis is a great cornerback, and quite frankly, he's been humiliated this afternoon by Derek Crawford. And on the post corner, he's reading the quarterback, and he just drops to the outside. He kind of anticipates that they're going to go to Crawford again. He comes up with the interception, 7th of the year. Of course, ties in with Keith Gooch for the lead in that department, but may turn out to be a big play.
First down, Edmonton. The Stampeders read the pass well. Smith up to make the tackle.
And pass complete to Michael Cole. Tackled by
Souls
Henry
made the
Smith.
catch, but there wasn't much there.
I think this offense of the Eskimos really misses Reggie Taylor, and I mean, that's almost an understatement. He gave them tremendous production, both rushing the football and receiving out of the backfield, and he was the kind of guy that anytime he touched it, you know, had the ability to go all the way, and you just can't say that about their backfield right now.
Tracy Ham on 2nd and 7. Ham looks to go himself. Now he's in big trouble. Completed the pass. But Marshall only got back to the line of scrimmage.
Danny Wicklund made the tackle there on Blake Marshall, and that was a good hit. One of the reasons why Tracy Ham's struggling back in the pocket is the coverage downfield on Craig Ellis. Darrell Hall comes up, jams him, stays right with him all the way. Hey, you can't do it any better than that. Darrell Hall's turned out to be one of the better inside halfbacks throughout the league. Does a nice job there on the top pass catcher in all of the CFL right now. I think Darrell Hall's winning the matchup this afternoon, no question about that. Craig Ellis had a couple of catches, but one got set them up for a touchdown, but Ellis really has not been a huge factor in this game.
Another injured Stampeder, that's Henry Smith. He had 11 tackles in his first game, September 3rd against Ottawa.
That's a nice way to start, isn't it?
Enter Ray McAreedy. He'll punt from his end zone.
Well, once again, you know, it seems like this whole third quarter that Calgary has started their drives at midfield or better, and this should be the case again. gets a little tough on the defense.
Not a deep kick for McAreedy this time. And no play for the Calgary Stampeder return unit. Crawford was close, but the return isn't all that necessary. And you end up with a football at the 41.
Well, I mean, they're in field goal position right now. There you see the line score. It's really been the first and third quarters for the Stampeders and a good second quarter for the Edmonton Eskimos. So if logic would prevail, if Edmonton can keep it at 30-12 right now, the fourth quarter might be there.
Minute 39 remaining, third quarter at McMahon.
Well, now Phil Scope.
Dan Barrett looks for Crawford. Now Mathis was covering on Crawford that time.
Well, they changed up the coverage a little bit. Rolled up Andre Francis in a zone, let him play the deep, or the short flat area, and then pick up Derek Crawford deep with Mark Mathis. And Danny Barrett's eyes were probably huge when he saw that. Derek Crawford breaking free from Francis. He didn't realize that Mark Mathis was sliding over from that safety spot to pick him up deep.
2nd and 10, Stampeders at the Eskimo 40. Calgary leading 30-12. Crawford, nice catch in front of Gooch, and that is another Stampeder first down. Nifty little 19-yard gain for Derek Crawford.
Well, it was good pattern and great coverage by Keith Gooch, but watch Danny Barrett once again. Lots of time to throw, and that's been the difference here in the third quarter. That offensive line has tightened up and afforded him the time to deliver nice strikes like that to his receivers, and Derek Crawford continues to terrorize that Edmonton secondary this afternoon.
Stampeders have 6 first downs in this third quarter so far. The Eskimos have yet to get one. This is Cherry trying the right side, and it's maybe a yard crossing the 20. That's it. Mathis will make the stop on Tony Cherry.
Mark Mathis did a nice job and came up and forced that thing quickly. He only picked up a couple of yards, and when you run the option, sometimes your quarterback pays the price. That's why you don't see it too often in the pro ranks, the option play, because he is very vulnerable, and Danny Barrett took a big hit from Leroy Blue there just as he pitched the ball to Cherry. You know, you see it in college a lot where you got 4 and 5 quarterbacks in your team, but in the pros, they don't really run that play a whole lot.
2nd and 8 as Barrett rolls to his left this time. Oh! No catch. Enos Jackson covering. Barrett wonders what happened there. And that is quarter number 3. Stampeders lead the Eskimos 30-12. 15 minutes to go.
I think it was Sean Beals, but I mean, you just can't see that far. Like, I'm looking.
We'll do it again.
It is really.
Hey, Pellhead, you're right. Anything else?
Who was that pass intended for? Is anybody able to see that on the replay? It was Beals?
Yeah, it was Beals. I saw when he got up.
Section R, row 30, 13. Section R, row 18.
Finally, loading on double from Holden Brewery.
Section F, row 46.
Information booth. Thank you.
Yeah, 0 for 2, 0 for 3.
It's now time for the Eskimo number 10. Right now, one and final rule in the stadium is going to win a Calgary Stampeder Austin Pizza Sports Tower. I draw your attention to the matrix scoreboard at the south end of McMahon Stadium. The lucky roll is about to be chosen.
Don, this is their best quarter of all their quarters offensively throughout the year. Fourth quarter.
There it is!
This is their best offensive quarter, the fourth.
Here come your prizes now.
I'll give you that.
Welcome back to McMahon Stadium in Calgary as we begin the final quarter on our TSN Game of the Week. The showdown for top spot in the Western Division, and currently Calgary leads the way 30-12 on the Edmonton Eskimos. First play, fourth quarter. Mark McLaughlin looks for his first field goal of the day. He has knuckled the last couple. He is wide again.
I tell you, that's really unusual. It looks like every time this afternoon, Danny Barrett has put the ball nicely on the tee for Mark McLaughlin, but he is just had some kind of mental block this afternoon with kicking it because the hold looked perfect.
Maybe he's got a new shoe or something.
I doubt it. Hey, I mean, let's be honest. He's just messing up.
I'll tell you what, that's a tough breeze he's kicking into, coming in right out of the north. We were supposed to get a Chinook. We got the polar wind instead. Calgary with 370 net yards in offense through 3 quarters, and they're playing great football.
First down for the Eskimos. Tracy Hand from behind. Will Johnson. Number 81, Tracy Hand.
Tackled by Will Johnson.
Good pressure. Johnson maintains that leverage to the outside, and when Tracy Ham runs up the middle, then he leaves the block and comes off and makes the tackle. And that's what you have to do to a Tracy Ham. Keep the leverage to the outside, force him up the middle.
Gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Ham incomplete. Thurman covering on Larry Willis.
Junior Thurman's done a great job this afternoon. Willis has got a couple of passes against him, but for the most part, Junior Thurman has been able to shut them down on the outside. And you know, he's having a great year. He's got a sack on a blitz earlier in the season. He's got a couple of interceptions, but what he's done is solidified that corner spot. You know, they had Ronnie Hopkins on the other side, but they really didn't have a corner on that side, and Junior Thurman's filled the bill this year.
Ray McAreedy ready with the win. He's standing at his 20. Derek Crawford across the 25, got 1 block. How about Crawford? Inside the 40, caught from behind. Mathis over to make the tackle. But what a return by Derek Crawford. 52-yard kick. Nice, right?
Yeah.
52-yard return. Nicer.
Yeah. Watch this, though. I mean, everybody hustles so hard to get a block. Pee Wee Smith gets a block initially. Look at the guys working downfield. There's 92. Henry Smith with a block, and just a great play by Mark Mathis keeps that from going the distance. So Derek Crawford, boy, he's doing it with his pass receptions this afternoon. He's doing it with his punt returns, and boy, combined yardage, he's second in the league to Mike Clemens, but he is having some kind of afternoon.
This is Cherry on the run for the Stampeders. Lost the ball when he hit the ground, and Braswell made the tackle.
They got what they wanted. They wanted to go outside to get a good block on the defensive end. Leroy Blue, and Terry got to the outside. It looked like he was going to go a lot farther than 4 yards, but the shoestring tackle kept him to that game.
31-12, Stampeders lead the Eskimos. 12:42 to play, 4th quarter.
You think about all the missed field goals by Mark McLaughlin. I mean, it could be a lot worse at this point.
6 more points, possibly. Singles instead of 3-pointers. Barrett missed Tony Cherry. Fired that one a little quickly, I guess. So enter McLaughlin one more time.
You know, it's interesting. Of the 43 points that have been scored this afternoon, only 3 have been scored in the direction the Calgary Stampeders are going right now. It's pretty stiff wind, so it has been a factor this afternoon. 39 or 30, 40 to 23 points been scored the other way. Maybe that's why he's missed all these.
From the 39, McLaughlin.
Hey, he got an airborne.
It's up. It's good. He got underneath it. Stampeders add to their lead at McMahon this afternoon. Calgary giving the Eskimos an old-fashioned thrashing, 34-12 with 12:06 to play. Yeah, numbers on Crawford.
The draw has been made. Section B, row 40, seat 24. Congratulations!
From the CFL archives, last time that Calgary beat Edmonton. Rick Johnson to Larry Ray Willis. Nice sneak at the 35, great scamper to the end zone. Willis lines up for Edmonton today, but 3 years ago, he was the big performer for Calgary the last time the Stamps beat the Eskimos.
Well, it looked like it was a little warmer that day, too.
A lovely balmy day at McMahon Stadium back in September of '87. Fans are a little warmer here this afternoon, though, with the way the Stampeders have gone so far.
Crowd has been into this. The line score will tell you that it really has been all Stampeders, except for the second quarter when the Eskimos scored there and had their biggest output, 11 points. Let us remind you, though, the fourth quarter is the best quarter offensively for the Edmonton Eskimos this year. So we've still got a ways to go with 12 minutes remaining, but the Stampeders enjoy a nice 24-point lead.
34-12, Calgary.
22, nice math, eh?
34-12, right, you got it.
The toaster.
On the return, Brett Williams, the old fullback.
Mr. Devastation. What, he knew, he looked like he knew what he was doing.
12-yard return for your pal, the toaster.
He's flying. Watch him, look at this. Ball's in the right spot. Arms turn, he's got the knees pumping. Good knee kick there. Drive, cut back. Short yardage situations, you never know.
Decent field position for the Eskimos on a short kick and the return by Brett Williams. First and 10 Eskimos. And they're 47. Ham stands in, fires low. And intending that for Keith Wright. Hopkins was covering up right that time. Well, the toaster was chanting a little bit. How many times can you beat a good football team before your number finally comes up? Unquote Brett Williams earlier today.
The old law of averages. Maybe finally caught up with the Eskimos here this afternoon.
Ellis takes the catch. Should have a first down.
Well, what a great catch that was. Daryl Hall all over him, and with that catch, he establishes a new Edmonton Eskimo club record for receptions in one season. This is his 105th catch. Truly remarkable year.
That is the first down for the Eskimos in the second half.
Second time in his career that he's been over the 100-yard catch mark. He did it in 1985 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, so truly a great career for him.
Looks deep for Willis. He makes the catch and steps out of bounds. Willis behind Hopkins. Why wouldn't he have run to the end zone?
Well, I don't know, but if you're Calgary in the defense, you've got to be thinking, let's not give them any deep ones here. Make them earn everything that they have. But I don't know why he went out of bounds.
I guess maybe momentum carried him out a little bit, but he was behind the receiver. 2 more steps and he would have had the touchdown. Tracy Ham is shaken up once more. Ham went out in the first half. Steve Taylor came in and relief.
Well, it's a bad toe that he had in the first half, and as he lets this ball go, he's hit by Warnick. Rudy Warnick fell on it right there. If he ran a little farther, but boy, if you've ever had a bad toe, I mean, just getting around the house or going out to the car or whatever, it's tough enough, but to try and stand back in the pocket and throw footballs all afternoon, I mean, it hurts, trust me. Hasn't been a fun year for Joe, has it?
Well, good start.
Yeah.
Tough finish.
Well, they're on the road this year, 3-5 coming into this afternoon's ball game. Pretty uncharacteristic for the Edmonton Eskimos.
The Western standings, as of this moment, Calgary by 1, so a win or a tie here today means home field for the Stampeders in the Western Final 2 weeks from today, in fact. First and goal to go now, Eskimos. From the 8, Steve Taylor, in at quarterback for Edmonton. Taylor grabs a couple on a confusing play. Tracy Ham on the sidelines.
Well, I'm sure Joe Farragelli at this point is thinking, hey, we're down 22. I mean, if we can come back and win, that's great. But the biggest thing on my mind is to make sure that Tracy Ham doesn't get hurt any more in this game if we have to play a semifinal next week.
Second and goal to go. Eskimos at the Calgary 5. Taylor on target. Souls makes the catch. And is he in the end zone? I believe he is. He should have the touchdown. Taylor and Michael Souls.
Complete to Michael Souls.
5-yard touchdown.
For a touchdown.
Michael Souls left wide open out in the flat, and Steve Taylor sees it quickly, gets it out to him, and pretty easy for him to run over Junior Thurman. Michael Souls at 215 pounds, Thurman a lot smaller, and Michael Souls has second touchdown reception of the year.
34-18, Stampeders. McElready adds one more. 34-19, Stampeders lead the Eskimos. Timeout at McMahon Stadium. The Eskimos still have a ways to come back on the Calgary Stampeders with first place in the West on the line. Lots of time.
The lucky winner of a
trying to tell me there a minute ago.
It was quarterback draw. Quarterback draw, he was not.
He was really, I thought he was confused. No?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's too early for a quick kick. Calgary doesn't think so, though. Look at all their guys up there.
Big finish on TSN this afternoon. Stampeders and the Eskimos in a shootout for top spot in the Western Division. 15 points. Calgary lead right now, but lots of time remains. 10:08 to play, fourth quarter. This is Tony Cherry on the return for the Calgary Stampeders. Caught from behind, a flag is down. Cherry.
Tony Cherry was the
stopped by Jim Yock from behind.
Returning the kickoff 22 yards. Yock on the tackle for the Edmonton Eskimos. There is a flag.
Holding. Calgary number 5. First down.
That's Dan Wicklum. And that will force the Stampeders back to the 20 with a first down. 34-19. Stampeders have taken 109 yards in penalties. Cherry slipped as he crosses 20. Hit there by Benny Goods.
Here's the scoring drive, 63 yards in 4 plays, capped by the Taylor to Michael Souls 5-yard pass. And it has Eskimos back to within 15 with 9:20 to play in the fourth quarter.
And I think this is a crucial second down play, 2nd and 9. And the Edmonton Eskimos can't wait to try and get their hands back on the football and we'll see what happens.
Barrett for McVay. McVay turns it into a big play. He should have been stopped, but Andy McVay finally nailed near the 40-yard line. Gooch made the tackle. 48 yards for Andy McVay. Looked like the Eskimos had it well defensed.
That's a great job by Andy McVay. He's had a good afternoon catching the football. Braswell cannot get out quickly enough and then cannot wrap up on the tackle. McVay with a good spin move, and then he is off and running down the sidelines 48 yards later, and You know, we talked about that being a crucial play on 2nd and long after Edmonton had scored. And Andy McVeigh comes through with a huge play for the Stampeders. I mean, they are making some huge play series after series. Crawford, Pitts, now McVeigh.
And this is Cherry. Looked to be trapped, and actually he really only got back to the line of scrimmage. Larry Ruck made the stop for the Eskimos. 8:28 to play, 4th quarter. The Stampeders hang on and finish in top spot in the West.
Semifinal or the Western Final. On sale Tuesday morning here at the at 9 a.m.
Cherry with a gain of 1. This will be 2nd and 9. Stampeders at the Eskimo 40. Calgary leading 34-19. Ruck coming from the backside, and he gets to Barrett.
Barrett, the ball carrier.
Well, you can see Larry Ruck sneaking up on it from the backside, and Danny Barrett just tucked that football in at the last second. Larry Ruck was trying to strip it loose, couldn't do so.
Next up is the CBC Company to bring the Eastern semifinal game.
Although with this stiff breeze out of the range of Martin McLaughlin, they will choose the league's leading punter, Brent Mattich, to come in and try and pin the Eskimos deep in their own territory.
Mattich will stand right at midfield to accept the snap. Dave Sapunjas is back with Mattich. He's onside. On the return, he's got some room. Lots of room to the far side of the field. McVeigh forced him out.
30 yards plus by the first 27 yards return.
27 on the return for Henry Williams. 34-19. Stampeders lead the Eskimos. 7:16 to play in the final game of the 1990 CFL regular season. Playoffs begin next weekend. The Ottawa Rough Riders will be in Toronto in the semifinal in the East. Riders made the playoffs today when the Blue Bombers beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 1st and 10 Edmonton here at McMahon. Steve Taylor in at quarterback for Tracy Ham, who's hurt and on the sideline. And Taylor grabs about 8. Pretty good run.
Well, John, on TSN, we have the last game of the regular season. We opened up the regular season with Winnipeg beating the Ottawa Rough Riders in a thriller in overtime in Ottawa, and it's been a fun year. We've seen some great games, haven't we?
Absolutely terrific action. It's been a good year in Canadian football overall.
I think it has. Attendance up in a number of cities. BC, Hamilton, and Toronto, the only cities down in attendance, but Ottawa, what a great job they did. Calgary here, the fans are extremely enthusiastic about their club, and all in all, I think it's been a great 1990.
2nd and 3 for the Eskimos. Blake Marshall is stopped. Finley leading the Stampeder tacklers. He's had a good day.
He has had a great day. He's been good on pass coverage. He's made some important tackles, and an important one right there that forces Edmonton into a gambling situation. But Matt Finley, who's really found a home here with the Stampeders, has done a nice job this afternoon. So the Eskimos will have to gamble, and we're talking a good 2 yards here.
It's 3rd and 2. Eskimos go gambling at the 44. They'll try the option. He's got the first down. Michael Souls. They ran that option very well for a 12-yard gain.
I'll tell you, who threw a great block was the toaster, number 91, who comes in on short yardage situations. He was able to sustain his block long enough so Steve Taylor and the rest of the guys could get outside and make that pitch to Michael Souls and allow him to pick up the first down. That's why they call him the toaster. He burns them on both sides of the ball.
I love that.
Remember that? Yeah.
1st and 10. Eskimos at the 53. Calgary leads at 34-19. Looks like a procedure call going against the Eskimos. Ken Warnock comes up with a sack. Did Trevor Bowles move a little too quickly.
He did, and when you're 6'5" and 280, you're pretty easy to spot. So I'm sure they will decline that one.
Edmonton, number 66, illegal procedure, declined. Second down.
Way to go, Hawkeye. Right on the money.
So each down now becomes even more critical for the Edmonton Eskimos. They trail by 15. 5:27 remaining, and a sack, the second sack of the ball game for the Warrior. Ken Warnock, nice job.
Second and 22. Steve Taylor has his work cut out for him here. He'll run himself. He's out near midfield. Well short of the first down. Grabbed about 10 yards, but he needs about 12 more.
Calgary defense doing a good job really against the Edmonton quarterbacks this afternoon. Steve Taylor and Tracy Ham, and what they are doing is forcing them back to the inside. Dan Wickham didn't make the tackle there, but he forced Taylor back to the inside so he would get some help, but not allow him to get to the outside and use his speed.
On 3rd and 13 from midfield, the Eskimos have to gamble with 4:42 to go. Taylor fired that one low, no catch. Willis.
Complete from Larry Ray Willis.
They call that a catch?
I thought it bounced.
I thought I saw one official wave it off.
Well, let's have a look. You're going to see it. Well, the official is super positioned to call it. He said Larry Willis got the hands in there and made the catch.
So it is a first down for the Eskimos. Edmonton from the 42. Taylor stands in and looks deep. Keith Wright. There is no flag, folks.
Keith Wright ran into Ronnie Hopkins. He initiated the contact. It has been an uphill swim for the Edmonton Eskimos all afternoon. Calgary jumping into that early 14-1 lead. Never looked back.
34-19 as it stands right now. Less than 4 minutes to go. Stampeders are 4 minutes away from top spot in the West. Top spot for the first time since 1971. Second and 10. Taylor. Complete over the middle, another first down for Craig Ellis. He is inside the 25.
Complete with Craig Ellis, gain of 18 yards.
Nifty little 19-yard gain.
I think that's the area that Craig Ellis is the most effective. Working his way over the middle and finding an open spot. Here, nothing fancy, just work yourself into an open area. He's found it, he stays in it, and he receives the pass from Steve Taylor, and they pick up the first down.
Taylor stands in. Looks deep for Ellis in the end zone. Not quite. Ellis drew a crowd. Hall was over there, and so was Greg Peterson, number 24.
I think in time what Steve Taylor will learn to do is to try and look off the middle safety, and he did, and Greg Peterson allowed to get over there and get a hand up just enough to distract Craig Ellis and not allow him to make that catch. But when he becomes a little more mature as a quarterback, Taylor will look to his right, knowing that Ellis is breaking in the corner, and then look back and throw it. And he'll only have single coverage instead of the double coverage.
3-minute warning is up at McMahon Stadium with the Stampeders leading the Eskimos 34-19. Great finish in our TSN Game of the Week. I could have sworn that guy was going like this. And then we didn't let the replay go long enough. Because the other guy might have called it a catch, but I was looking at the guy who was right here. Right? And he's going.
That's why I started, that's where I went like this initially.
I mean, it's fine if they want to call it a catch. It's just that guy called it off.
They always give it this one. They're looking.
Yeah. Crawford. Danny.
Oh, I think it's Crawford. Got to be player of the game, Crawford. Who do you think of player of the game? Yeah. Turning point.
3 minutes at McMahon Stadium. 3:06 to go. Stampeders 34. Eskimos 19. And the Stamps hang on to win. Now the Stampeders out there cheering their fans on as the chant goes out for the Calgary Stampeders. 2nd and 10 Eskimos. Calgary 24. Taylor gets a big charge from Ballard and gets away. There's a flag down. Taylor finally dragged down from behind. I think Walter Ballard was awfully close to getting a sack there. 18 yards for Taylor.
Ballard on the tackle for the Stamps.
How close did Ballard get?
Legal contact and now the pass receiver. 92 Calgary. Decline. First down Edmonton.
Kent Warnock charge there now. Look where the Eskimos are at the 5-yard line. The 1st and goal to go from there. Could be the big finish. Lots of time remaining. 2:39 to go. Easy touchdown. Yes, sir.
Brian Walling. So now Joe Farraghelli will have to go for 2 points, as he has indicated. They have come a long way back in the late stages of this game. Brian Walling with the touchdown reception. Knocks another 6 points off that 15-point lead. And here you see they sent 3 receivers downfield, clear out the area for Brian Walling. He sneaks out of the backfield. Steve Taylor finds him. Hold on to your hat, folks. This one is not over.
34-25 right now.
This is the key play right now. They make the 2-pointer, hey, they got a great shot at it. They don't make the 2-pointer, then they got to score twice again.
A 9-point difference right now. Taylor off target for Souls. Not even close.
Yeah, that was the big play. Now they have to force the Edmonton offense to score 2 times. Touchdown and a field goal. And this pass that does not connect with Michael Souls. It wasn't even close, really. Well, I tell you, he's a young quarterback, and he's going to learn that when you're in this kind of situation, you've got to throw it into the end zone. I mean, even if it's picked off or goes incomplete, you've got to give yourself the chance. That one had no chance.
Nice drive.
Give credit, though. Taylor, I think, has done a pretty good job since he has come in the ball game. Thrown a couple of touchdown passes, one to Brian Walling, one to Michael Souls, but that was a big play right there. Onside kick time, 2:33 remaining. They need to score twice, so they need the ball in 2 possessions. You'll be the coach at home.
Set for the Eskimo kickoff. They drive it deep. This is Cherry for Calgary. On the return, a flag is down. Cherry gets out across the 40, but they'll bring it back. Tackle made by Larry Rux. And 2:27 to go, 4th quarter. Stampeders leading 34-25 on the Eskimos. Holding the call against the Stampeders.
Holding. Calgary number 44. First down.
13th penalty against the Stampeders. 119 yards total.
Lots of time, really. 2:27 remaining, and I think the Calgary Stampeders should do their best to try and run as much time off the clock as they can right here. Of course, on the penalty and change of possession now will not start for the snap of the ball. 2:27 remaining.
And a first down. Stampeders at the Calgary 21. Cherry, a hard hit by Jeff Braswell. Numbers on Barrett so far, 15 of 27. 341 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2 long bombs to Crawford to set up touchdowns.
That's a big hit by Braswell on Tony Cherry. That wasn't the key down. This is the key down right here. 2nd and about 6. Danny Barrett, you're right, John. He has had a great afternoon. He has got a couple more left to finish off right here.
Barrett takes the hits, and the Stampeders will kick it away. Leroy Blue gets the sack, and that's the first of the afternoon on Barrett.
Third down, Stampeders.
Blue is the injured player on the field down to the 15-yard line. (34-25). Well, a minute 58 to go. The Eskimos are going to get the ball back here in a hurry.
Well, they got a great shot. I mean, there's no question about it. With that kind of time left, almost 2 minutes remaining, you're going to see how Leroy Blue gets hurt here. He falls on Danny Barrett's foot, and looks like maybe he had the wind knocked out of him.
Well, something to beat the drum about at McMahon Stadium. Nice outfit.
The bleacher creature, they call him. 26,000 fans. 26,000 plus here at McMahon Stadium this afternoon. That's a nice crowd. To watch their Stampeders, who have a 9-point lead with a little less than 2 minutes remaining. And don't give up, you fans in Edmonton. There is plenty of time to get the ball twice and score.
Lots of time for the Eskimos. I would think Joe Farragelli might feel a little more comfortable if he had his starting quarterback available. Tracy Ham is on the sideline. Steve Taylor has come in relief. And although Taylor has moved the ball club a little bit, he is not quite as effective as Tracy Ham, and particularly in situations like this. Tough kick for Brett Maddich. It might have traveled about 12 yards.
I don't even think it went that far.
Boy, the Calgary kickers have had a tough day. Now with a minute 34 to go.
Went 8 yards. 8-yard boomer.
Boomer. Mark McLaughlin had a couple of field goals that missed. Now Maddich comes up with his worst punt of the season, I would think. Eskimos have a 1st and 10. The Calgary 26. A minute 34 to go. Taylor dropped the ball, gets it back, decides to run. Taylor gets away from a couple of Calgary tacklers. He'll score! Steve Taylor into the end zone. A 26-yard touchdown, and Taylor should have been stopped about 24 yards before that. Eskimos will go for a 1-point convert here. 34-31.
John, they struck so quickly after the 8-yard punt, and he fumbles the snap, he gets up, and then he makes just a spectacular run. But I think almost as important as his run is, they scored in one play, and now you're talking a minute 25 remaining. I don't even think they have to kick the onside kick. They can go ahead and kick it deep with the wind and try and pin Calgary deep. So that quick strike sets up quite a different scenario for them.
Now, Wally is not a happy guy at the Calgary bench, I can guarantee it. Watching the touchdown, Wally Buono cannot believe what he sees. So a minute 25 to go. It is a 2-point ball game. Stampeders lead at 34-32.
Well, the Calgary Stampeders will have a team in there that's used to handling the football as they have had for the last 2 kickoffs by Edmonton. But I honestly believe that Edmonton will kick it deep again with 1:25 remaining and try and pin them teeth. One more look at this great run by Steve Taylor. This is spectacular. Nice move right there to get by Finley. Had a good afternoon. Another good cut there, and breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle, and he's into the end zone.
Taylor has 6 carries for 76 yards in relief of Tracy Ham. This is Crawford on the return for the Stampeders. He has been great. The Eskimos have him well covered this time. A minute 19 to go. Stampeders have a 2-point advantage.
Well, Danny Barrett has to dig down in his bag of tricks and come up with 1 first down. If Wally Buono wants to see his team finish in first place, I think 1 first down might be able to do it for them. Clock, of course, will not start till the snap of the football and the change of possession, so it still is, as you can see, at 1:19.
Seems like only moments ago the Stampeders led 34-12. Now it is 34-32. The Eskimos have closed quickly.
It was moments ago. I mean, seems like it was.
Pass complete to Pitt, 4 yards on the play.
Well, this is great, though, isn't it? Last game of the season, battle for first place. It comes down to the final minute of the regular season. They played 17 games to get here. And now in the final minute, they will all be decided. Who captures first place and who has to play the semifinal next week.
2nd down and 6. Stampeders with 1:02 to go. Stampeders, the Calgary 42. Barrett in trouble and down. So the Eskimo defense comes up big. And this one could be slipping away from the Calgary Stampeders when it looked in the bag just a few moments ago.
And our pal Brent Maddich better make a little better contact on this punt. Last one, of course, traveled only 8 yards. Danny Barrett did the right thing. Nobody was open downfield, and rather than force it, he's hoping that his punter can kick them out of trouble and the defense can play some solid defense. But we will remind you that the Edmonton Eskimos have a very strong wind at their back.
55 seconds remaining. The Stampeders lead by 2. The Eskimos will get the ball back right here. Brent Maddich had a tough kick last time. A field goal can win it for the Eskimos. Better kick. It is not terribly deep, though. Taken by Gooch. And the Eskimos will begin with 47 seconds to go from the 50. 27-yard kick by Maddich that time.
I'd say with this wind the way it is, they're about 20 yards away from a Ray McNarity opportunity to win this football game. They trail by 2. 20 yards, I think, would allow him a chance to do it.
Steve Taylor at the controls for the Eskimos. You see the time remaining. Stampeder defense needs a big play here. Taylor to the near side. Out of bounds.
That's a good call. He was out of bounds, no question about it. The official right on the spot. Larry Willis made a nice catch. It was a great throw, but he had his foot on the line when he made the reception. One more look. Good pressure from Kent Warnick up front. You're going to see it.
Out of bounds.
So, the Edmonton Eskimos, as they have been doing all fourth quarter, 2nd and long, but they've been able to convert in this fourth quarter.
Now 43 seconds remaining. Pressure on Taylor, but he gets it away. Low this time.
I think what the Calgary Stampeder front 4 now has to say to themselves on 3rd down, I mean, let's put a hard pass rush together. Let's try and put some pressure on Steve Taylor, but forget about the sack unless it's right in your face. Just make sure you don't let him loose to run for the 1st down, because I'll guarantee you, if he doesn't see something quickly, he's going to take off with the football.
Here's the situation. The Stampeders lead it by 2. 3rd and 10 for the Eskimos with 39 seconds to go. At stake, home field for the Western Final. Taylor can't find anyone. Now tries to get up. They got him. Walter Ballard got to the quarterback. And the Stampeders can celebrate. But there were some anxious moments.
Were there ever?
That is the 6th sack of the afternoon for the Calgary defense. The Eskimos almost pulled this one out. They were trailing 34-12 early in the 4th quarter. The Eskimos came back. It stands at 34-32. 32 seconds remain. The Stampeders have the football.
And you think Wally was excited? I mean, he came out in the field and gave Walter Ballard a hug. And here you'll see how it occurred. Ballard with a little bit of extra effort to get the sack on Steve Taylor. Now Wally's not happy, is he?
Well, he's done a heck of a job. Wally Buono. Joe Farragelli has had his toughest season in Edmonton. Some controversy and more losses than the Eskimos were used to, including 4 losses in the last 5 games. It'll be 5 losses in the Eskimos' last 6. But the Eskimos came close. 26 seconds left now. Let's go back to Brett Williams' quote. How many times can you beat up a good football team before your number finally comes up? Well, I guess about 10 in a row, 18 of the last 19. But the Eskimos' number finally came up against the Stampeders here this afternoon. Well, they played volleyball here and had a lot of fun in Calgary this year.
Well, they sure did. You know, and ironically enough, coming into the final game, they were only 1 point ahead of their total at this time last year, but they came up with the big win this afternoon. The monkey is off the Stampeder backs.
Give a lot of credit to Wally Buono. The 1990 Western Division champion Calgary Stampeders. 19 years after they last won the title, the Stampeders are on top of the Western Division in Canadian football. It was not easy, at least not easy at the end. Stampeders had a big lead a couple of times today. But Joe Ferragelli rallied the troops, and the Eskimos came back, and we had a great finish.
It was a typical CFL finish. A great finish to our CFL coverage on TSN this year. Joe Ferragelli, gracious in defeat, gives Bob Swift, the offensive line coach, a hug. Wally Buono, a lot of credit goes your way. He's done a nice job with this team.
How about Derek Crawford's afternoon?
Oh, just normal day.
Just a normal day at the office. Derek Crawford, 88 yards and kick returns. He had 3 punt returns, 4 kickoff returns, 5 receptions for 155 yards. Total it up, 296 yards. So the Stampeders finish at 11 and 6.
And one.
I certainly forgot about the tie. We got to get to 18, don't we? 11, 6, and 1. And that is good for top spot in the Western Division. So into the final minute, actually the final seconds of this one, it came right down to that for the Calgary Stampeders. There's Normie Kwong celebrating with his head coach. At long, long last.
Our Bolson MVP game star, number 83, Derek Crawford of the Calgary Stampeders, as he has done all season. Some great catches, but some spectacular kick returns. This was one of them. Here in the ball game, a big, big key to a Stampeder victory, one of the biggest in the history of this franchise. 34-32 the final. Great football game to watch. What was it like to play in?
Well, it was exciting. You know, we know that coming out, you know, that was going to be a tough game, and you know, we know that we had to attack first, and that's what we did. We came out and took the momentum, and we put the ball in the end zone the first 2 times we got the ball, and that's what we had to do to win.
What did you see in the game tapes as you prepared for this that suggested you could beat Andre Francis as often as you did? He's one of the best in the league.
Well, you know, when a guy play bump, you know, he gonna win a few of them, and the receiver gonna win most of them. But you know, just by working hard and practicing, going against my guys, you know, that prepared me. And you know, Danny said we were gonna take him, so you know, I just put my head together, and you know, we went out to do the job.
Well, you sure did a job. Now you got a week off to rest before you have to play the winner of Edmonton, Saskatchewan. It's going to be nice this time of year to have a week to get ready for them.
Yes, it is. You know, they give everybody a chance to recuperate and get the little nicks and bruises out the way. Such as myself, you know, I'm bruised up a little bit, and a week's rest help everybody. And we just got to, you know, go in and watch a little film, and we'll be ready to play come November 18th.
What a great job today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Derek Crawford, a Burleson MVP game star. It's 34-32 the final. The Calgary Stampeders beat the Edmonton Eskimos. First win by Calgary over Edmonton in the last 11 meetings, only the second in the last 19. It's a great number indeed. We'll come back with a turning point after this. Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you today by Firestone. The Edmonton Eskimos scored 20 points in the last 12 minutes of the fourth quarter to make it interesting, but they could not get enough yardage to kick the winning field goal when they needed it in the final seconds. A fierce rush by the Calgary Stampeders, and Steve Taylor finally dropped by Dr. Ballard. Walter Ballard made the big sack to preserve a Calgary victory by 2 points. A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of coaches in amateur sport on behalf of TSN and Firestone. Performance you can trust. Great finish to a great season of football on TSN, and for their thoughts, here's John and Lee.
Well, I guess never count the Edmonton Eskimos out of anything, because at one stage in that fourth quarter, the Calgary Stampeders led 34-12, and the Eskimos came back to make it very, very interesting.
Yeah, and they came back in a hurry. But, you know, I mean, the Edmonton Eskimo fans, hey, you guys have had a lot of years to cheer about the way your team has played, and they played very well, I thought, this afternoon. But you know what? I've got to feel really good for the Calgary Stampeder fans. They have struggled. They haven't been in the first place since '71 and all that stuff. And today, they did it against a lot of odds. I mean, even though they were in first place, I still think they came into this game as the underdog.
I said at the very beginning of this telecast, and you were chuckling at me yesterday, I said this was Calgary's ticket to the Grey Cup, a victory here this afternoon. Now they have a shot at hosting the Western Final in 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, you look back at last year, and Saskatchewan finished third and went all the way and ended up winning the Cup. So, I mean, you can look the other way, too, there, Wellesley. But, hey, listen, I like their chances. You get the 2 weeks off. The guys that are a little nicked, they get healthy. You get to host the final in your own house, as Tony Cherry told us, and I think they stand a great chance now.
I guess more importantly for the Calgary Stampeders, they have the Eskimo monkey off their back. They have finally beaten the Eskimos, first time in 11 ball games.
They could all walk a little straighter now that they got rid of the monkey, and I thought they played great.
Well, we had a great finish, and we had a lot of fun this season on TSN. Pretty good day for the Calgary Stampeders, who lock up top spots in the West.
We have had a good day. In fact, we've had a great season of the CFL on TSN. We'd like to thank a lot of production and technical people across the CFL who've made it possible for us to bring you these games this year, including a great crew here in Calgary today who worked under somewhat less than ideal conditions because it's cold down on this field. There's the final. Calgary 34, Edmonton 32. Stampeders are first in the West. The Eskimos host Saskatchewan next Sunday at Commonwealth. For now, that's the story. Thanks for watching. Molson's CFL Game of the Week on TSN has been brought to you by Molson Canadian, what beer's all about, and by Priority Courier, the official courier of the CFL.